What is happening out there, rotoscouts baseball fans? Welcome to a Friday show, gang. End of the week. We made it. Good to see everybody. Starting up a couple minutes later than intended. The 3:45 schedule came and went, obviously. Just got the site updated with the confirmed lineups that we've got for right now. Monster slate to talk our way through, so I'm not going to burn too much time at the top, but hello to everybody. Cujo's in the chat, TGIF. Larry C's here, Monty's here, Colin Sutherland. Little discussion already going on about Jack Flaherty and the quality of him on a big old weird pitching slate, I'll say. Not exactly a dynamite slate, but plenty of very strong usable options up toward the top, some value options throughout, so maybe it's not completely terrible. We've obviously got a handful of aces up here, reasonable enough prices. Basically, everybody's facing at least a semi-challenging matchup up there. You've got Jack Flash is certainly a member of that group, a little bit offset by price on DraftKings. Really interesting spot right there in a dangerous situation in that ballpark, but that's a standout price tag. Usable, mix and matchy, and then we can start getting a little bit ugly down toward this part of the board. So it's a very distinct top and bottom of this slate, and it's kind of one of those slates outside of maybe a couple of these guys up this way, where a lot of this just kind of tracks the pricing directly with the quality. We don't have too many crazy good options down in the sixes, even the mid sevens, or at least carrying question marks. So it's going to be an interesting one to talk through. But as I was hinting at, a monster slate, 13 gamer. So we do need to keep good time today. Anthony Taylor, what's going on, buddy? Larry C calling out no gunner for the O's. Hadn't noticed that yet. I dropped a lot of the lineups in and updated them to the site. So a lot of the lineups, I'm going to be discovering the changes along with you guys as we go. Literally just put them into the model before I clicked start. We've got real interesting up and down this board. 2 mid-fours implied totals in Tampa Bay in that very playable ballpark environment. I'm seeing a good amount of upside for the Tigers against Shane Baz, who can be very hit and miss, has struggled with some power allowed, even though he keeps the ball to a decent launch angle. We'll get into the Tigers and the Rays on the other side. Going up against Jack Flash, definitely a good pitcher, but as mentioned, can definitely pitch down to the competition sometimes. 7 earned runs against Cincinnati in a game in Detroit his last time out. Against the Cubs, he blanked them over 6 innings, 2 hits, 9 strikeouts. You take the good with the bad. Jack Flaherty is mostly a very talented pitcher. I would lean toward him, but I am at least interested in considering some inexpensive Rays bats, and they're showing a fair amount of power against him. The O's are throwing Tomo Sugano into the grinder against the Yankees in a game in the Bronx. Yanks drawing a 5.75 implied total against. Obviously, they've scuffled against some similarly mediocre, soft tosser type pitchers this past week. But hopefully yesterday got them off the schneid a little bit, and it's just a monster lineup with tons of power in it. So we're always going to be considering them when they're coming in against a up and down arm without a lot of Ks in it, I think is fair. And that kind of a Vegas total. On the other side, just a 3.39 implied total for the O's going up against Max Fried, who's been mostly tremendous throughout the season. Definitely think we can go there. Max, one of the more reliable guys to give you a shot at like 7 good innings with a handful of strikeouts. Targetable enough lineup, and as Larry just mentioned, no gunner in that lineup, so even more appealing. The White Sox against the Blue Jays. We had a pitching change. It went from Davis Martin. He scratched. He's actually going to the IL with some sort of issue. I didn't read it because it doesn't matter because it's Davis Martin. But Grant Taylor is now going to open this game. Might go more than 1, but he's not going to go more than 2 and change. He was a little bit more stretched out earlier in the season. Came up on the 10th, made 4 individual 1-inning relief appearances in the show so far. I don't think we're worried about him as far as an option off the top, and we don't have, as far as I know, a named bulk reliever. So just kind of a straight-up bullpen game there from the White Sox. Definitely think that can lead us into some Blue Jays bats. They're drawing a mid-5s implied total. Very appealing there. And who the hell is pitching for the Blue Jays? Oh, Spence. It's good old Spencer Turnbull on the hill for the Blue Jays. Kind of like that as far as if I could trust the depth. He's gotten 2 1/3 and 2 in his 2 appearances since coming back up. He was pitching a little bit deeper in the minor leagues. He got stretched out to 4 2/3 in his last AAA appearance on June 6th before coming up. But we're probably looking at like a 4-inning spot out of Spencer Turnbull. Maybe he gets out to 5, but probably less appealing than a fully stretched out Turnbull would be in this spot. Braves and the Marlins. We have Dieter Fuentes, who is 20 years old, making his major league debut, against Jansen Junk, who has been pitching in bulk relief and is 29 years old, but people seem to be confusing him with a prospect. 4.91 implied total for the Braves, pushing a lot of power through the home run model against Mr. Junk, and not a bad total. 4.20 implied for the Marlins against Dieter Fuentes. Blade Tidwell is on the mound for the Mets. Blade is making his second start in the show, right? There's another one in here, I think. Yeah, I believe this is his second outing. Started on, May 4th, 3 2/3 against the Cards. Was pitching in the minors, 5-6 innings, full starts, somewhat competent. Probably not a spot we're leaning into, though, against the Phillies. Even though it's just an 8.5 run total, the Phillies are getting 5 of it. It's that low overall game total because Zach Wheeler's on the bump for the Phillies. Against the highly capable Mets lineup, you can always at least consider some contrarian Mets. They are one of those teams that they're just good. So if you can get them at lower ownership, you're paying full price for them, but it always keeps them at least on the board. Wheeler's tremendous, one of the best run limiters in the game. Only 1-2 bumpy starts throughout the season has been mostly terrific. The Reds at the Cards. Brady Singer on the bump for Cincinnati. Andre Pallante against them for the Cards. Cards again drawing another one of those near 5 implied totals against Singer. Singer can be good, but he can also be very bad. Typically, we get him and he's kind of in the middle there. So I believe a 4 or 5 run day from the Cards. I just don't know if it's a monster ceiling day again for that lineup. Just one of those things. We just bump our heads on the Cards all the time. On the other side, Andre Pallante is at least typically good at checking some runs. Struck out 7 in his last game against the Brewers. That's kind of a big uptick. 4 starts back against the Orioles, also struck out 7. That was 3 7 strikeout games. All the other games are 2 or 3 strikeouts. So it's a weird game log. Typically, you're just getting a lot of bat on ball and some good fielding results when Pallante's on the hill. He's not incapable of beating that Reds team, but it's not a great spot with them pulling a 4.17 total and him lacking strikeout upside most of the time. Jacob Misiorowski rescheduled to today. He was supposed to go on Thursday, but we lost that game. Wednesday, but we lost that game. They rescheduled on Thursday, and they went with Freddie Peralta because it was against a division opponent where this game comes up against the Twins. Like the spot a little bit better for Misiorowski. He also gets another extra day or so to rest that ankle that he twisted at the end of his start. It wasn't going to be an issue anyway. Shouldn't be an issue for him today. The kid is ridiculous. Tons of talent. It's a better matchup going up against the Twins than the Cubs. Not that the Twins are bad, and I think we consider some Twins upside against him, 4.45 implied total. But this kid is nasty. Throws 103, true ace caliber stuff. Going the other way, Joe Ryan on the mound for the Twins, looking pretty good going up against a okay Brewers lineup. Pretty limited Brewers lineup in a lot of ways. Like the upside for Joe Ryan quite a bit. Zach Gallen against Austin Gomber in Denver at Coors Field. 6.91 implied total. The Diamondbacks are the class of the slate in terms of just pure scoring potential. 12 run total in that game. Don't sleep on the Rockies side of that. 5.23 implied total for them. Going up against a gettable version of Zach Gallen. They've been decent. Michael Talia's been hitting the ball hard since he came back up over the last 4 games. So not an unbelievable total. Kind of appealing at what will definitely be lower ownership at way lower prices. Astros and the Angels, Kikuchi against Michael Lorenzen. 2 gettable enough pitchers for my money. I think we could consider some bats there. Mid-4s implied total for the Astros. They look a little bit better. The Angels pulling just a 3.61 implied total. I'm sorry, that's against Hunter Brown. Why did I say Lorenzen? I scrolled down too far. Wasn't thinking as I was talking. Hunter Brown, that makes a lot more sense. 3.61 implied total for the Angels against a spectacular Hunter Brown. 12 strikeouts in his last game over 7 innings against the Twins. Could do very similar things to the Angels today. Mike Lorenzen pitches for the Royals. He's going up against the Padres. 417 implied total for the Pods. I think you could throw them at Michael Lorenzen like I was about to accidentally say about the Angels. It's Nick Pivetta on the mound for the Padres going up against a low strikeout Royals team that he does have checked down to 3.42 implied runs. He's pulling a pretty strong projection. At worst, he's in consideration. 7 pretty good innings last time against Arizona, struck out 9, 2 earned runs. Cleveland with a affordable Tanner Bybee going up against the Athletics. Just that ballpark, all those hard hitters that kind of work against Bybee there. He's been pretty up and down through the season, but kind of found form for strikeouts over his last handful of games, except the last one. He also gave up a handful of runs in each of those performances, though. So there was some good, some bad. It's where we kind of need to balance around price, popularity. Not the most targetable spot in the world. The A's are at a mid-4s implied total. Feels like when we hedge with some bats. Jeffrey Springs, I definitely want to attack with some Guardians bats. 4.67 implied total in this ballpark for them, showing some good power upside. Rounding down the slate, Mackenzie Gore against the Dodgers. If it was anybody else, I'd be all over the spot. Gore's been absolutely tremendous, as is even against the Dodgers. We want to have some just for how good he's been this season. Two outings in which he gave up 4 earned runs are his worst outings of the season. Struck out 7 in both of those. A lot of strikeouts in a lot of these games. He's just been good. Dodgers side, it's Clay Kershaw, who's been definitely better over his last 2 as well. Kind of interesting. Going up against a Washington team that is good, not great, pulling a mid-3s implied total. I think we can at least debate some Kershaw. Went 7 in his last game. Apologies for the sniffling and the sounding all stuffed up, by the way. Not how I want to do the show, believe me. Red Sox at the Giants to finish things off. It's Hunter Dobbins. It's Hayden Birdsong. I like Birdie quite a bit better. It's going to be an interesting one. I was really tempted to make Raffy Devers the home run pick of the day just for revenge purposes here. Just would have been fun, but I didn't go that route. I had a few back and forth ones. I was going to maybe go with a probably super low-owned guy from Cleveland who we'll talk about if he's in the lineup, but I went a different direction. I went with one of the highest home run total guys in the model, but he's not at crazy high ownership. He's from one of the games that I'm interested in talking about. So I went that way. Home run picks, looking for 5 for 5 to round out the work week. Perfect work week if we could get there. So let's go, Mr. We'll get to it. It's on the website right now if you want to check it out. Rotoscouts.com. Everything's under $1 a day. To get in behind the paywall, you get access to all the baseball projections for every single player on the slate, individual home run model number for every single hitter, individual pitching projections for every pitcher, every starting pitcher on the slate, top stacks, home run picks from every single team, plus the overall home run pick of the day, power index, which kind of summarizes the power hitting opportunities for each team. NBA projections. We get one more NBA game. Break up the Pacers. Ridiculous. Can't believe it. Last NBA game of the season is included for the same under $1 a day when we get there. When we get back to football, hockey, all that's back on the board. Same $1 a day gets you access to all of it. Follow the @RotoScouts Twitter handle. Hit the like and subscribe button down below this video. There's a link to our free Discord in the description for this video. Pop in there, join the community. You don't have to be a subscriber to join the Discord. You can just come hang out. People talk all kinds of stuff in there all the time. Some good picks going on in there. There's a very active WNBA discussion that the guys are doing on their own every single day in the basketball channel still, if you're looking to get your basketball fix over the summer. There's an esports channel in there that I rarely enter. Don't know what goes on in that channel, but it seems fairly active. I know nothing about esports. So, again, we've got a very clear-cut tier of aces up there that I would say probably ends at Jack Flaherty. He's notably cheap. That is a good opportunity against the Tampa lineup that has some strikeout in it, but it's a high danger spot. They hit the ball very hard. They've got some very capable left-handed bats in that ballpark. Definitely plays up the drama against Flaherty, but I think any downside on DraftKings is just baked into that 8,500. 94 and all these guys being in that same range. These are difficult pitchers to reach if you're looking to stack two good teams together on FanDuel today. You're playing more in like this territory if you're doing that. Fortunately, you got some good options to work with down there. If you're going up to Max Fried, Zach Wheeler, Hunter Brown, you're not making a mistake on any of those guys. I would say Wheeler a little bit more challenged by matchup than Fried or Brown. It probably goes Wheeler, Fried, Brown or excuse me, in terms of who's facing the easiest teams. It goes Brown, Fried, Wheeler. Depends on how you want to discuss it. And then into Joe Ryan, who is a little bit offset by projection, especially more so on the FanDuel slate, it looks like. But that's as good a spot. 9,100 is nicely offset from all those pitchers and from these two pitchers. So I like the upside for Joe Ryan. Nick Pivetta, it's just a low strikeout Royals opponent as usual, but a $9,300 price tag for as good as he's been. Got a little faith. Gore doesn't project out poorly against the Dodgers. That's why I was saying he's at least on the board. Good as the Dodgers are. He's been just tremendous this year. And then we get into danger territory with Tanner Bybee, but at 7,000, he is more than good enough to pay that off against that Oakland squad. 8,900 against on the FanDuel slate. In 150 lineups, I'm taking some shots on that for sure. If I'm building 20, which is the approach I'm going with tonight again, which is what I've usually been doing this season, maybe one or two, but probably not many. Mizurowski's a wild card. It's just that he's not really priced like what he is right now. He's priced for his ceiling. He's priced for 6 innings of like him coming out, striking everybody out, not having those walks bite him. That's been his big issue, is the walks. He needs to wrangle his control and command a little bit and start putting, he's put plenty of hitters away with the stuff and how nasty it is, but he's also putting double-digit walks on base all throughout every stop in the minors. And he's kind of priced like that's not going to happen. So I love the kid. I do like the upside. It's a better spot than it was the other day against the Cubbies. The other day, he was 4 or 5 points lower projected with the same innings projection. Hayden Birdsong at 8,000 against a gettable enough Red Sox lineup. That's where I'm really interested. I think that's a good price on both sites for Birdsong's upside. A lot of strikeout stuff. The Red Sox, a lot of young kids in that lineup with a lot of talent for sure. But Birdie's probably the more polished version between the two right now. Gallen just challenged by Colorado. If you want to roll the dice on a pitcher with enough talent, certainly to go out and find 8 to 10 strikeouts against that Rockies team and pitch fairly clean, 8,174 is the right price to do it. Zach Gallen is not a pitcher I typically like. He's not a pitcher I typically want to get to. Too many issues. But for today's slate, where nobody's going to go there, if you want to challenge the Rockies, if you're feeling frisky, that is a reasonable option for some low-owned, cheapo darts. Kikuchi's fine at 8,476. He's been controlling the run scored, even though he puts way too many guys on base. Hasn't found the same strikeout stuff in most of his starts this year as we've seen from him in years past. That's not going to be in the cards for him either today against the low strikeout Houston team. So it's just kind of the middle of the board option that it looks like. Kershaw I'm interested in going up against the Nationals, 7,200 on DraftKings, especially given the 7 innings the last time out, the 2 tremendous starts in a row. Looking a lot more like the old Clay Kershaw. It's just that's a good enough Nationals lineup that tends to succeed against lefties. Shane Baz is playable against the Tigers, but I'm leaning Tigers pretty heavily. Brady Singer, mix and match quality against the Cards with them drawing that kind of total. They've been paying those totals off lately. It's why I'm a little bit hesitant to not be into the Cards or to be into Brady Singer. Hunter Dobbins playable against a Giants lineup with some strikeouts, 73, 6,900. It's him. It's Palante where I draw probably the realistic cut line. So you do have at least a couple options below 7,000 to work with there. I don't love either of those. Between the two, I would probably lean Dobbins just for the ballpark, a little bit more strikeout. Turnbull, like I said, I love the spot, but I don't think we get enough innings. Even at 58, it's a little dicey for depth. If you could get 5 at 58, it's obviously worth doing. He's good enough, especially against that White Sox team. We saw some very good starts last year out of Spencer Turnbull before he got hurt. Jeffrey Springs against Cleveland is not really an option for me. He's been pretty bad. They're good enough. That ballpark works against it. Price-wise, meh. Lorenzen, low strikeout himself, going up against the low strikeout Pods. Sugano against the Yankees seems challenging, but if you want to believe in the way that we didn't believe in Kyle Hendricks and Jack Chanowitz to succeed, then that's your cheapo guy. Just not going to work out all that often. Junk, I'm going against with the Braves. Fuentes not available on either side. We just got him in here to look at the Marlins. Davis Martin, not going to pitch. I thought I took him out of here. That's right. Before I looked it up, I thought he was going to just bulk relieve, so I left him in. Gomber, Tidwell, Grant Taylor at the bottom, I think are pretty limited options. Andy's here. Jake Swales. What's going on, guys? Beyond the rabbit hole. What's going on? Wishing everybody big cashes tonight. I love it. Let's get them. Anthony Taylor likes Gore to kill it. Yeah, Larry, it's just allergies cropping up. It's been, for some reason, a little bit more allergic around here this June than most Junes. It's been itching my eyes up a little bit too. That's why my eyes have been a little bit red, or more red than they normally are, if you follow. Larry points out that several people have not hit the like button yet. For shame. Anthony Taylor's playing 10 in the 15 on FanDuel. Going to need help on how to use the Sims. Any questions you got, Anthony, drop them into the chat. I'm happy to try and answer. Depends on, a lot on what site you're using, who Sims and so forth. But yeah, drop them in. We'll take a look. Edward B. from Burgo, North Carolina, sweating in the heat down there. Apparently it's going up into the hundreds up here in Jersey next week. So not looking forward to that. Yeah, that's what I'm worried about with Turnbull, Monty. I'm a big fan of the pitcher. I think he's good. I had him last year for the healthy starts and the very strong start, and then they jerked him around, moved him to the pen, he got hurt, and so forth. But yeah, I just don't think we get the innings. 2 and change in the 2 appearances here in the show. Had not gone 5 in the minors prior to that, so pretty questionable. Let's dive on in. Tigers and Royals lineups are here. Fantastic. So, those of you who are here wondering, can the home run picks this week go 5 for 5? Can we hit every day of this work week? And who is the pick of the day? I got good news for you. He comes out of this first game, so you can punch out of the show if that's the only thing you're wondering about as soon as I mention his name. He's actually the guy on the screen with the largest numbers. You need to get out of here in even more of a hurry. Look for the guy with the biggest number in the home run column. He's going up against Shane Baz as a spoiler. Baz hasn't been bad. 4.54 ERA, but a 4.05 xFIP. 21.6% strikeouts against too many walks at 9.1. That's what's kind of burnt him. Too many guys on base at a 1.32 whip. Induces a decent swinging strike rate, but that CSW doesn't really match that swinging strike rate. He's given up too much premium contact, just under 10% barrels, just over our threshold for hard hits, just under an 89.9 miles an hour of exit velo allowed, and just under our threshold of concern at 3.96 instead of 4% home runs. Call it concerning. 9.7 degree average launch angle is kind of interesting. That's kind of come down a little bit. If he can continue to improve upon that and keep the ball in the yard or on the ground, it'll stay in the yard more consistently. You do have upside in Baz given the ability to induce swinging strikes. And there are definitely strikeouts in this Tigers lineup. 22.6% average strikeout rate, helped by Gleyber Torres up at the top at 12.2. Everybody else into the 20s and mid-20s at that. Baz, 6 strikeouts his last time out, gave up 3 hits to the Mets over 6 2/3. Comparable enough, kind of upside team. The 3 starts before that in a row, 2 of them he pitched into the 6th but did not complete it. Gave up exactly 3 earned runs on the 3 hits, 5 hits, and 7 hits to the Red Sox, Rangers, and Astros, respectively. Struck out 5 Red Sox, 5 Rangers, and 3 Astros. That's the more limited version of Baz. 2 home runs allowed to the Astros, 1 to the Rangers. I think we're picking on him a little bit here, especially just the way the model came up today. I didn't go out and set my mind to I want to attack Shane Baz, but it just landed this way. So I'm leaning some Tigers, and it doesn't look like the slate really is. Makes me like it even more. You can get in cheap with Colt Keith at 31-26, leading off from the left side, 7.50. He's got pop in that bat. 10.8% barrels, 42.6% hard hits. Love the second base eligibility on FanDuel, but I do want to include Glaber in a lot of stacks. So there's some back and forth about that. His first base eligibility with another first baseman in the lineup. You've at least got the util spot, so you can work around it. He's at worst a guy who can help you average down some of the pricing of the stretch of hitters that you really want to get to. Glaber at 49.31, a little bit cheaper on FanDuel, but 49 is worthwhile on DraftKings. He's been very good this year at 281, 384, 25. 133 WRC plus. He's been a fantastic table setter. 12.2% barrels, 13.3% hard hits. We know he's got some pop in the bat. He's hitting for average, really succeeding out in Detroit. I'm happy for him. 45.28 is stupid cheap for Kerry Carpenter against this pitcher in this ballpark. Lefty power, remember, plays up with it's the same dimensions as Yankee Stadium in the Florida Heat. Kerry Carpenter has a 12.5% barrel rate, a 45% hard hit rate. He's hit 13 home runs in 255 chances, 213 ISO. He's carrying a 10.92 in the home run model. He is the home run pick from the Tigers today, but not the overall home run pick of the day, which also comes from the Tigers. If you haven't figured it out by now, by the way, think about things. Riley Green, 9.78. 3,200 feels pretty cheap for him on FanDuel. 5,000 on DraftKings, more than fair. 15 home runs on the season, slashing 283, 32, 500 with a 220 ISO, 18% barrels, 46.6% hard hits. Just their flat out best hitter. I don't really worry about strikeouts when he's just that good of a bat. Love the upside, 9.78 from him in the home run model. And then we get to today's overall home run pick of the day, Mr. Spencer Torkelson with a 14.39 on the board. He is surpassed today by only Aaron Judge, Kyle Schwarber, and Giancarlo Stanton. Oh, no. Stanton came down, it looks like. Or I didn't resort that. He's number 3 now. I think Stanton was either higher or that somehow got out of order. I forget if I changed the Vegas total on that. Regardless, he's number 3. Behind only Judge and Schwarbs. Love the upside. Hunting for the 5 for 5 week. He's hit 16 on the season. He's got a 250 ISO. He crushes baseballs. Dylan Dingler hasn't been bad. Nearly 9% barrel, 45% hard hit for a cheap price, 4,000 where you got to play catchers, 27 where you don't. It just becomes challenging with the various mix and matching that I want to do around the multiple second base and first base options there. But he should be in some shares even on FanDuel. 7 home runs, 272, 303, 431, and a lower owned player within an already low owned stack. Parker Meadows, another really interesting lefty in this lineup, 38-27 for him. Hasn't been great over 54 plate appearances, but has plenty more to give than that. You can see the evidence in the 362 xWOBA. 8.3% barrels is effective enough. He's drawing a lot of walks. Just needs to find his footing for the season. He is talented. Javi Baez, 39-28. If you got to mix and match your way there, it's been fine. 293, 327, 474, kind of holding up over a few more extended plate appearances. It didn't die off quite as quickly as I was expecting. That said, we're a little bit lower than we were to begin the season, but still, this is the best stretch of Javi we've seen in quite a while. Trey Sweeney at 3,025, mix and match quality, more talented than his line would suggest, his results would suggest this year, but entirely skippable if you want to go to a different shortstop. Jack Flash, 85-94, 29% strikeouts against the team with a 22.3% active strikeout rate in this lineup. That is a spot. 11.2% swinging, even in this ballpark, even with this team drawing some power against. You can see Brandon Lau, 10.05. He's the pick from the Rays today. 6.37 on Aranda, 6.14 down here on Josh Lowe. But it's a gettable Rays team. Good as they are, it's a gettable spot with Jack Flaherty. So at price, especially on DK, I think we're interested. Too many walks this year from Jack Flash. 4.03 RA, but a 3.54 xFIP. Very appealing there. He's given up too much power and home run. That's what could potentially burn him here. That's where I am, at least treating it with a modicum of concern. That's where I would probably take at least a lineup or two of Rays if I'm drawing a big share of Flaherty. If you're taking a handful of Flaherty, you don't need to hedge it by any means. But if you're taking a giant, 20% of your lineup's kind of a chunk, hedge with a couple Rays. 4.52% home runs. They're drawing a 4.35 implied total. There's probably a home run to come against Jack Flash, and then it comes down to what else did he do, how many guys were on base when the home run got hit, and so forth as to whether it ruins his day or not. But you need to do more impact than one home run or like 3 runs against at 8,500. on DraftKings to really completely break his day if he finds a good strikeout total. If you're going to raise, that is, again, appealing enough. You have a very inexpensive Yandy Diaz at the top of the lineup, 3,800, 2,900. I know he's not the player that he was the last two seasons so far, but he's still carrying a 115 WRC plus next to his 362 XWOB, but that suggests we should see ongoing improvement. He has hit 10 home runs. He has barreled the ball in 9.1% of his batted ball events against a 54.8% hard hit rate, both of which are higher, pretty significantly higher than last year's numbers in those departments. So it's crazy to me, excuse me, that he's priced down the way he is based on those results. Brandon Lau is cheap at 45.32, pulling a 10 plus in the home run model. He's hit 15. He crushes baseballs from the left side. That's a guy I am definitely concerned about exploiting some of the contact that Jack Flaherty's allowed this year. 11.1% barrels is concerning on an 18.6 degree average launch, 42.6% hard hits. So there's definitely downside. Jake Mangum, over 150 plate appearances, has been good. We've looked at him a few times. Quad A type player, 4,000, 2,800. He's fine in the 3 spot, honestly, given what he's been doing. But he's just got limited individual appeal. I still just look at him as a correlated scoring piece at best. He'd be the last man in if I'm using him. Jonathan Aranda, I'm way more interested in. All those barrels, the 53.5% hard hits. 8 home runs, just a 165 ISO despite all that premium contact, but slashing 329, 416, 494, and creating runs 64% better than average by WRC+. Curtis Mead, definitely playable. Hasn't seen great results, but has more talent than this. Showed more results than this in the minors. 3 home runs, 3 steals, and 105 plate appearances. Counting stats haven't been bad. Cheap multi-position eligibility with second base on both sites. That said, positional conflict at second will allow conflict with 2 guys who are better than him at first base. So he's difficult to get into rosters. I do think that makes him a potential point of differentiation if you just wanted to look at him that way. And he's definitely cheap. So he's on the board, but he's way lower priority than the lefties above him. Josh Lau below him, even though, I mean, they're at different positions, but still lower priority. 42.31 for Josh Lau. 4 home runs, 5 steals, 109 WRC plus over 131 chances. Adequate so far, and he's better than that. He has been hitting the ball fairly hard. Hasn't barreled too many balls yet, but that should come around over time. Matt Days is a mix and match quality catcher with a little bit of pop in the bat. Hasn't really barreled enough balls this year. 1 home run in 140 plate appearances. 42.9% hard hits, though, is at least somewhat interesting. Can draw some walks, too. Taylor Walls, Cameron Misner, mix and match quality for some stolen base upside, some correlated scoring, but they don't get on base enough. 75 and a 76 WRC plus, respectively. Tigers bats, Jack Flaherty, Rays bats, Shane Baz. 4 corners game. All 4 things are usable. Anthony Taylor cashed on the home run pick. Love it. Love it, buddy. I think everybody knows that I'm doing that chest pounding with a little bit of a wink and a nod, knowing that any stretch of 4 correct picks in baseball is immediately reversed by 2 straight weeks of completely missing. So just some happenstance that they all came in the last 4 days, but I'd love to close out the week 5 for 5. I think it's a fun talking point. Yes, we are humble around here, especially with baseball. Yankees 5-7-4 implied total. No need to be humble against Tomo Sugano. Looks like a pretty good spot. Again, the Yanks just got beat 2 days in a row by Kyle Hendricks and Jack Kachanowicz, who struck out 9 and 7, respectively. It was the best start for Kyle Hendricks since 2020, if you weren't here the other day. Tomo Sugano puts up very similar numbers to those 2 pitchers. 14.1% strikeouts on a 7.4% swinging, 23.7% CSW. He's had 1 big strikeout game all season. He's pitched to a 3.38 ERA, but a 4.40 xFIP. Hasn't walked anybody, doesn't put himself in bad spots a lot, so has been able to limit earned runs, but he's given up plenty of premium contact that the Yanks should be able to exploit in this ballpark with that total. It's just down to the Yankees of it. When they miss pretty badly. There is swing and miss in this lineup. It's been a rough stretch for Aaron Judge. He's gone from up over 400 down to 366. Still creating runs 125% better than average. Has 26 home runs on the season. We're not concerned. It was going to come at some point. It's just kind of come in a hurry over the last 10 days or so. Monty nails it. Baseball's great. You feel more comfortable going 0 for 11 than 4 for 4. Got to continually pay respects to the baseball gods. So true. Yeah, 0 for 11, normal result. 4 for 4, outlier result. So we're attacking Tomo Sugano. I really see no need to throw him into a lineup today. Even with as good as bad pitching has been against the Yankees, you're just gambling if you do that. He's been effective enough in spots, but there's better upside pitchers, even in that price tier. You could squeak through, sure. His strikeout high on the season is 8. He did not exceed 5 in any other game this season, despite pitching into the 7th and beyond in some of these starts. Handful of earned runs in most of these games. No real meltdowns. Like I said, he's good enough. He's been good enough. Goddamn, Cal Raleigh second today, 29 home runs. Most home runs by a primary catcher before the All-Star break in baseball history, passing Johnny Bench. Pretty good company. So I don't want to belabor the point. It's a challenging spot for Tomo Sugano. Use him at your discretion. If you're going to use him at all, I wouldn't. Max Fried, very much in play. 10,000 on both sides. Fairly affordable price for as good as Max has been. 24.1% strikeouts on the season, a 1.89 ERA, a very clean 309 xFIP on top of it, but, notably higher, obviously. Sub 1 whip, 10.5% swinging strikes, doesn't really walk anybody, doesn't really allow that much power, keeps the ball on the ground. Max gives you everything that you could want in a heavy air quotes safe DFS pitcher. It's a good enough matchup here for my money. They're going fairly right-handed, but it shouldn't matter all that much with, for one, the righties that they're throwing at him, and for two, just Max's general quality and his positive attributes on the mound. So leaning heavily Max, leaning heavily Yankees bats. If you're looking at the O's, it's a bad spot, but at least they're cheap. Jordan Westberg is good, 3,800, 3,300. He's hit 7 home runs, but a less than likely home run situation, 4.26 for him in the model today. That's with a 214 ISO, 111 WRC plus on the year. Adley has been up and down this season. Can get to anybody, doesn't strike out, and does draw walks. That'll challenge Max a little bit, but Max is the opposite of that. He strikes plenty of guys out, and he doesn't really walk anybody. So collision of factors there. I lean toward the better pitcher. 296 for Adley in the home run model. He's only hit 8 this season, 145 ISO. Ramon Laureano's been barreling baseball, so have Colton Cowser and Gary Sanchez, both of whom are interesting for power upside. But again, you're home run hunting against a pitcher who keeps the ball to a 6.9 degree average launch and has that as a demonstrable attribute throughout his career. Max is just good at limiting home runs. Does that mean you can't hit a home run against him? Of course not. He gave up 1 in each of his last 2 starts. He's given up 4 in his last 4 starts. 2 home runs in a game back against the Dodgers, 4 starts back. Prior to that, he had given up 3 all season. So I just don't think we want a home run hunt. So it's kind of difficult with guys like Ramon Laureano. There's plenty of strikeout there. If he makes good contact, the ball can travel for sure. And he has been good. 9 home runs and 153 chances, a 250 ISO. Cowser's hit 6 in 67 plate appearances. He's got a 323 ISO, 15.4% barrels, 51.3% hard hits. He's been mashing. He also strikes out at a 34.3% clip and doesn't draw any walks. Gary Sanchez has done that for years. Gary's always put great barrel on ball, hard hit on ball. But he doesn't really walk that much. Strikes out even more. Last year, he walked at a decent clip in a moderate sample, 9.6% walk rate against 27.1% strikeouts. Typically, we are looking to get Gary against a lefty, but not against this lefty. It becomes challenging. Out of everybody in this lineup, if I was picking somebody to hit the odd duck home run, though, I think I would lean Gary. Forget if that's who I picked in the home run picks of the day from this team. I don't think it was. But saying it now, I'll back it up. Kobe Mayo, 25-22. I just don't like the option at the corners against this pitcher. Pretty rough 51 plate appearances, but definitely does have talent, has the ability to hit the ball hard. Also, a lot of strikeouts in his game right now. Dylan Carlson, Luis Vasquez down the bottom of the lineup. No, thank you. It just feels a little bit like a stretch going to those options. If you're, for some reason, stacking up a ton of Orioles today against Max, then feel free to use those guys. They're in the mix, but they're not that appealing. Carlson's been okay. over 98 plate appearances. He does have 4 home runs and 2 steals. On the Yankees side, Trent Grisham just won't go away, won't stop hitting. 14 home runs, a 347 on base, 377 xWOBA. In the 2 spot today between Goldie and Aaron Judge against Sugano. Love the upside for that stretch of hitters. With Goldie at 43 and Grisham at 4,000, you're not even paying that much for them as a 3-man. That's 5,000. It's 49.67 for a stack that includes Goldie, Grisham, and Aaron Judge. You obviously can stretch. Giancarlo Stanton is just too cheap at 3,700 for how hard he hits the ball. He's off to a decent start. He's put good wood on the ball. Hasn't barreled one yet, but it's coming, I promise you. Ridiculous power upside from Stanton. Solid stretch of guys over the magic number there. Jazzy getting into the lineup at 51-33. 10 home runs, 10 steals. Hit one, I want to say it was yesterday. I mentioned that he's been, according to himself, been swinging at 75% since rejoining the team from the injured list. But it probably won't matter as much against this pitcher. Didn't seem to matter the other day. Jason Dominguez at 35-29 is affordable. 6 home runs, 10 steals, getting on in an okay clip. Has some ups, has some downs, some things we definitely need to improve. But outside of everything, 8.1% barrels and 48.5% hard hits, making very, very appealing contact against a pitcher that will not really be able to exploit his downside. So I like Dominguez here for 35-29. Volpe is mix and match quality most days. A lot of doubles this year, 8 home runs, 8 steals, 102 WRC plus. I like getting to Volpe as a sneaky option when they're going against the lefty. Otherwise, he's just kind of in the blender at shortstop for me. Austin Wells, DJ LeMahieu rounding out the lineup. 43-29 for Wells. He's hit 11 home runs, has a 228 ISO. He's a masher up there at the catcher spot. He doesn't do much else. Not a great walk rate this year, but had an 11.4 last year. More strikeouts, fewer walks this season as the 100%, well, not with Ben Rice now, but the almost everyday catcher for this team. 234 plate appearances. There's some good, there's some bad with that. He's hitting for a little bit more power. 10.3% barrels, 49% hard hits. You take the trade-off if you're the Yankees. It just impacts his DFS utility slightly. DJ LeMahieu is cheap at 29.27. The triple slash is, fine at 244, 330, 337. You'd like to see him capitalize a little bit more on the quality bat on ball that he's given us so far. He's drawing his walks. He's striking out a little bit more than we would expect probably in the long term. So there is definite visible upside on DJ, and he's just very cheap at second base. Easy enough to work into a Yankees lineup and helps with the average price. They're not that expensive. Outside of Judge, nobody is really all that expensive. No Bellinger in the lineup today. No Ben Rice in the lineup today. But just a monster 9-man, even without those 2 guys. That is a really good 9-man now. Max Fried, Yankees bats, or Yankees bats Max Fried, either way. Orioles bats wouldn't consider Sugano, again, even with the Yankees' poor performances against similarly low-end pitchers recently. We have the Blue Jays lineup in. Forgot which one I hadn't confirmed yet. A lot of lineups in for this slate. Love it. All right. Grant Taylor. Apologies. I didn't update the pitching in the background stats. Only needs the dashboard that just these stats refer to, not the model. The dashboard that's just visible for the show. I didn't update the pitchers because they only need to go, once a time through the rotation. We are short 1 inning on Grant Taylor. He faced 3 hitters, struck out 1 of them. So in 4 major league innings, he's actually at a 4.50 ERA and a 2.77 xFIP with the full update. He made 6 starts at the beginning of the season in Double-A. But then was relegated to a single inning relief role since May 9th. 1 inning in each of his performances along in the show so far. So like I said, maybe he sees 2, but I wouldn't lean that way. And at 4,000, I see no reason whatsoever to play him, despite maybe being able to find some strikeouts in that 1 inning. Just doesn't seem like a good spot. And the Blue Jays are on a 5+ implied total and are more respectable maybe than we started this season, which is weird because they've lost a good bat who was underperforming. They've gained an Addison Barger who is either gotten good now or is just overperforming. But this seems like a more playable version of the Blue Jays now, especially in this spot. I like the upside for them. Two guys at exactly the same 10.48. It's Vladdy, it's Addison Barger in the home run model. George Springer having a quality year. Bo Bichette having a quality year, showing a little bit of power himself. I like the upside for Toronto here. And then going the other way, Spencer Turnbull, who we already talked about. I think we are limited to, let's say, three innings. Maybe it's 4, and we'll see what happens in that 4th. I doubt we get 5. But he did go into the 5th in his final AAA start on June 6th. 4 2/3, faced 23 hitters, gave up 5 earned runs, struck out 3, walked 2. So threw a lot of pitches in that game. 2 innings and then 2 1/3 on the 11th and the 15th in bulk relief. Dicey at best to expect more than like 3 innings. What did I give him? I did give him the 4. I might actually pull that. I might make that 3. So that I don't think he's going to land as playable at that 58. I just don't want him accidentally popping up for DraftKings people. I do think he's got 4 in the bag. Given what he was pitching to in the minors just recently, that he's been, 2+ in the bulk relief role. I'll debate that. Just know not to play it. I'll debate what it projects as we go. White Sox bats against Turnbull. By the way, in that minor league stint, he pitched to a 7.13 ERA in 5 outings, struck out 14 against 9 walks, gave up 1 home run. Mixed results. Last year, 26.1% strikeout rate, a 2.65 ERA, a 3.80 xFIP in 7 starts. Some relief work. Was inducing a 10.1% swinging strike rate. It was a solid little handful of breakout games anyway from Spence last year. So I do believe in the talent. More than capable of shutting down the White Sox for 3-4 innings. We're probably not leaning White Sox much at a sub-4 implied total. They're also not drawing much of a home run number against. They've got Lou Bob at 35-28 in the heart of the lineup, 6 home runs, 22 steals. Maybe here and there some signs of life lately, but it's been really, really difficult to envision, to see. 11% barrels, 42.9% hard hits. He's just gotten cheap, so he's always going to be playable. He still projects out well. It's just difficult to use anything around him, and it's difficult to use him as an individual. Even Chase Meadrow, we're down at 274, 355, 332 up top now. He's gone through a little bit of a challenging couple of weeks. 100 WRC plus. He has stolen 9 bases. He's low strikeout, high walk, but he struck out a little bit more in the last few games, and that's pushed up that rate pretty quickly. Andrew Benintendi's not very good. 7 home runs, medium slash line, 108 WRC plus is one of their top 3 or 4 players this year, but that's not saying much. Miguel Vargas has been okay. 10 home runs in a hurry, over 297 plate appearances, just at 242, 324, 34. 112 WRC plus to lead the team. So if you're going there, sure, he's in the mix. Kyle Teal's cheap at 25, 24, 32 pretty empty plate appearances so far, but a high-level catcher prospect for this team. Lenyn Sosa puts good bat on ball, always has around a 40% hard hit rate. 6 and change percent barrels. He's hit 4 home runs in 217 chances. A solid, but not spectacular slash line and not getting on base enough. 89 WRC plus. He's not good. He's very cheap and in the White Sox lineup. Ryan Noda at 2,200. They don't have Andrew Vaughn anymore, so why not go with Ryan Noda at first base? 25% barrels, 25% hard hits, over 14 plate appearances. Does have a home run on the board. He is a player that we've gotten some fantasy value out of over time. 111 pretty bad plate appearances last year. 495 okay plate appearances back in 23 because he hit 16 home runs and got on at a 364 clip for Oakland. 123 WRC plus that year. So when I say he's usable, that's what I'm talking about. But last year he kind of cratered pretty badly in a up and down. I think he went down to the minors a couple times, and I think he was hurt throughout last season. At 22, he's fine, but he's not a great way to occupy first base. Austin Slater, Josh Rojas, pretty skippable. If you're going Blue Jays, again, it is still top heavy, but there's a lot of quality in those 4. There's a usable piece, a usable piece. So it's a little bit deeper, given the performances of these two guys. The just ongoing second base for cheap pricing eligibility of Andres Gimenez with more quality than he's shown us this season in his record. And they're not expensive. Even the guys who are very good are not priced up. Vladdy at 48.32. 9 home runs on the board, but a 10.48 in the model today. A 158 ISO, despite the 14.3% barrels, the 53.9% hard hits. It continues to defy that kind of contact. But his slash line is tremendous at 286, 388, 443. He's created runs 37% better than average. He doesn't strike out. He draws almost a matching walk rate to his 14% strikeout rate. Vladdy is still a superstar. He's just affordable. Bo Bichette's created runs. Bless you, Joker. Joker sneezing in the corner. Bo Bichette, 10 home runs on the season, a solid but not spectacular slash line out of him, but 10% barrel, 49.6% hard hits. I love the upside there. 370 xWOBA, 111 WRC plus, only 41-31 at shortstop against Grant Taylor and the White Sox bullpen. Sounds pretty spectacular. I think the Blue Jays ranked 4, I want to say, on both the Vegas board and in the stacks tool today. Barger, third base, outfield, 4,000, 3,000. He's hit 8 home runs in just 186 chances, carrying a 234 ISO. Mashing baseballs right now. Was a kid we expected to hit the ball hard. Really just landed on his feet this year and has taken off for this team. So love the upside. Hit us a home run earlier this week as one of the picks of the day. George Springer, 45, 3,000, 10 home runs out of him. The average has come down, but the on-base is still pretty tremendous. A 210 ISO, a 125 WRC plus. Needs to keep doing that, and he will be a good asset at these prices. Andres Gimenez at 37.26 has been problematic. He's at the Mendoza line. He's sub 300 on base. He has hit 4 home runs, stolen 9 bases, so you've at least gotten a couple good DFS days. He's difficult to trust, but he's very cheap. Fills second base if you want to stretch for the 5-man. He's in the mix, and he helps average salary down. Ernie Clement's been better. Third base, shortstop for 34. 4 positions for 28 on FanDuel is probably more of an asset over there. Just a 299 xWOBA is something to watch. It means, the overperformance here will eventually probably cool. But he's hit 4 home runs, 293, 325, 414, creating runs 9% better than average. Doesn't exactly crush baseballs, which explains away a lot of that substandard xWOBA. But doesn't strike out, doesn't really draw walks either. Again, impacts the xWOBA overall. But it's good enough for our money, for our purposes, at a cheap price to include in Blue Jay stacks. What he's not really is like a go drop him into a lineup one-off kind of a player. But in stacks, he works perfectly fine. Luke's at 32.25. Pretty good slash line over 143 chances, creating runs 17% better than average by WRC+. Tyler Heineman is just weirdly priced at 4,400. I do not really understand that. I mentioned it the other day. Yeah, at over 70 plate appearances, he's at 406, 420, 578. And if you think that will continue, given another 70 plate appearances, I have a very large bridge to sell you. It's just not who he is. 2 home runs, 2 steals. I get it. If he was 2,800 on DraftKings, it would be great. 3,200 like Nathan Lukes is, it would be great. 44 is just silly. 2,800 on FanDuel is moderately usable, but you don't need him. 2 years ago in 47 plate appearances, 237, 383, 316. Had a 107 WRC plus in that stretch. I'll give him that much and a good on-base percentage. Maybe the on-base can hold up for him. So to put it in perspective, this guy that we're talking about is 34 years old. And this is probably the best 70 plate appearances he's ever had in the show. He's got major league experience. It's not like this is some prospect or some rookie. He's made 369 plate appearances in the show, going back to 2019. So if you want to talk quad A players, this is the quad A-est of quad A players. Jonathan Klass, not really a DFS option. 2 home runs, 3 steals in 90 plate appearances. He's given okay results, 6.9% barrel, 41.4. In a lot of Blue Jay stacks, sure, you could throw him into the mix. He's cheap in the outfield, fills a spot, but not a strong on-base guy, not a strong wraparound option. A little bit challenging. Blue Jays bats in a big way. White Sox bats, if you want them, is just cheap darts. They're there, but they're not appealing. They're not a go-to for me. And I don't think you get enough depth out of either pitcher. West Campus Parking followed us on Twitter. Follow the @rotoscouts Twitter handle like West Campus Parking did. Welcome aboard, West Campus Parking, if you're out there. What university do you enforce parking rules at? Welcome, welcome. When I was in college, the parking people were not well liked by the people who had cars. They were pretty aggressive with their ticketing. Braves lineup is in, so is the Marlins lineup. Marlins we already had. Braves is way more important. Atlanta, 4.91 implied total going up against Jensen Junk. Again, Junk this season, 22 2/3, 22.5% strikeout rate, 2.2% walk rate. Nice little theme working right there. 2.85 xFIP to go with a 2.78 ERA. That also comes with a 12.6% swinging strike rate, but only a 26.2% CSW, which kind of flies in the face of that pretty good walk rate. All of this work has come in bulk relief appearances. So we're talking about last time out, bulk relief, 5 2/3, essentially a full workload. 4 strikeouts, no walk, 2 hits allowed. That was against Washington. Against the Pirates, he went 4, gave up 5 earned runs, struck out just 1, walk 1. Had a 1-run performance over 4 against Colorado, struck out 6, walk 0, but that's Colorado. San Francisco, he struck out 5, walk 0, 3 hits, no runs over 4. Pretty effective outing against the Angels in his first appearance back on May 24th. First full start in the show. Wait, is that accurate for his career? He's another guy who's been here for a minute. Has he made a start in the show before? Yeah, he has. So back in 21, he made 4 starts for the Angels, 2 starts the next year for the Angels, 1 start the following year for the Brewers, 6 relief appearances across 2 teams last year, and then this work, mostly pitching in the minors, and he is another guy, he's 29 and change. So again, not really a prospect by any means. He's very cheap. He has been striking out hitters at the major league level somewhat effectively. But I think these numbers are somewhat illusory. And even within that, look at the hard hit. Look at the barrels, the exit velo that he's allowed. It's just small sample over 22 2/3. The fact that he didn't allow a home run kind of defies those numbers and defies expectation. I love the upside for the Braves to capitalize on some of that premium contact today. I'm not really sweating the downside of facing Jansen Junk. A few darts maybe as a 55 option. Not completely out of the question. The Braves do strike out at a 22% clip, but what I don't want to say is that this is any good at all. And you can see for yourself, 4 guys above the magic number in the Braves lineup. Another one showing Murphy down here at an 8.47 in your home run model today. A lot of realistic power upside for the Braves and enough sequencing ability and just run creation and enough just good players that I really don't like drawing against them with a pitcher like that. Dieter Fuentes, this is his major league debut. As mentioned, he's only 20. Rocketed up the board here for the Braves, or at least in the promotion list. 1 start at AAA. That was on June 14th. Went 4 2/3. Struck out 6. Walked 0. In the minors this year, from high A through AA into that 1 AAA start, it is 39 1/3 innings over 9 starts, had a 28.9% strikeout rate, a 7.2% walk rate. And again, getting aggressively promoted up through the levels as just a 20-year-old says something. So far, he's not available on either site. The reason I'm talking about him is just so you get a little perspective on the 4.19 implied total and the environment in which the Marlins are going to be hitting. Kid's not without talent. If he becomes available on a DFS site, I don't know that we necessarily go there outside of the fact that it is the Marlins. He does seem to have pretty decent strikeout stuff. So at least keep an eye out. Let me see if he got added on DK. DK would be the spot I'd be, I think, more into it because he's probably going to come up cheap if they add him. Does not look like they've added him yet. I'm just assuming it's Dieter. It might be Didier. I have no idea. Fuentes, I'm confident on. Ronnie Acuna, top of the Braves lineup. Monster opportunity. 13.67 in the home run model. Two more guys in this lineup with 13s. Marcell Ozuna just trailing behind those guys at 12.69. I think we can roster some Braves power bats today. 8 home runs on the board and 104 chances for Acuna so far. Monster start to his season after missing the first couple months. Verdugo's just a mix and match guy at best. Just happens to be sticking in that second spot in this lineup, despite not really holding it down. 77 WRC plus, just a 312 on base, a .058 ISO, no home runs, no power to speak of really. Weird choice to have him consistently hitting second. It's just a lefty bat. They should give Michael Harris that spot and see if it can bring him out of his season-long slump. Austin Riley at 48.32 is just way too cheap. He's at 11 home runs. He's fantastic. Monster batted ball events. Matty Olson, even bigger batted ball events, 13.02 in the home run model from the left side, 53.35, has 15 home runs at 233 ISO, 136 WRC plus. His absolute masher, belongs in many of your Brave stacks. Really good option as a one-off at first or third with either of those guys. Those guys can function as a two-man. They can function with Acuna or with Ozuna or with Sean Murphy, even Ozzie Albies, Michael Harris as three-mans. There's a lot of ways to build around the Braves, what will probably be a fairly popular spot. Ozuna at 43.31 continues to be underpriced for his talent. I know he scuffled this season, as we've talked about many times already. Monster barrels and hard hits still. Doesn't really strike out at an aggressively bad clip. 22.5 is actually an improvement on last year's 24.6. Looks like 2 years ago. 16.9%. He's drawing more walks. Getting on at a 381 clip. That was over 400 a couple weeks ago. It's normalizing, but it's still fantastic. He still created runs 27% better than average. You're just getting a cheap shot at Marcell Ozuna to average down the pricing of everybody else. Ozzie Albies has been problematic. 6 home runs and 6 steals. Sean Murphy, 9 home runs. The power's there. 169 plate appearance with a 219 ISO, 327 xWOBA. Just a little bit of a slouch in as far as the triple slash goes. A lot of Ks, but plenty of walks. Plenty of hard hits and barrels. Michael Harris, another guy struggling, not really performing like himself, but 6 homers, 10 steals. At least every now and then, you're getting some counting stats for DFS scoring. Nick Allen, as always, here for defense. Xavier Edwards, Jesus Sanchez, Agustin Ramirez, Kyle Stowers would be my top 4 from the Marlins lineup if we're drawing down against Dieter Fuentes and whatever his quality actually looks like. Edwards has a good hit tool. He's good for on base, 358 on base with 12 stolen bases and 262 chances. He doesn't drive the ball effectively, just a 296 xWOBA. That's going to look like that for a guy with no barrels, 29.4% hard hits. But he doesn't strike out. He draws plenty of walks. He's a table setter, perfectly cast in the leadoff role. I would prioritize him, but I don't love filling shortstop with him. So second base is where you want him on either side if you're going Marlins. On a day where the Marlins are drawing a 4+ implied total, might be a little bit of just, first start for a 20-year-old downside there that Vegas has got in that mix, because the Marlins remain not very good. Plenty of strikeouts here. This kid is good at finding strikeouts, but Edwards not really a strikeout target. Otto Lopez not really a strikeout target. Not really good either. 7.7% barrels, 34.3% hard hits, 6 homers, 8 steals, but entirely gettable, 80 WRC plus. He is not really a priority. He's just in the top few hitters. Sanchez strikes out plenty. He draws a fair amount of walks. He also crushes baseballs from the left side when he makes contact. So be wary. That's a big opportunity for a home run against. 8.48 in the model. He's hit 7 in 210 chances. Just a 160 ISO against an 11.4% barrel, 44.3% hard hit. My money's on the ISO to climb, the home run count to climb. He's also stealing bases this year. He's carrying a 104 WRC plus. It's been a good stretch for a good player. Agustin Ramirez is proving himself a good player too. 10 home runs from the catcher spot for a cheap 3,800. That's a reasonable consideration for a one-off catcher, honestly. 9.3% barrels, 46.9% hard hits. Again, the 10 homers, a 208 ISO. It's resulted in just a 98 WRC plus. You don't really have consistency to talk about, but the kid's got upside for sure. Kyle Stowers has hit 10 home runs in 263 chances. They came in an awful hurry, and he was getting a ton of buzz, and he's kind of cool. 41.26. Price isn't bad. We're at 272, 340, 460, a 187 ISO, a 120 WRC plus. Still a 17.3% barrel, 51.2% hard hit. Another threatening enough lefty to throw at this kid if you're choosing to go Marlins. I would probably make Sanchez and Stowers my top two priorities in that mix of four. Again, Edwards belongs there just because he's the table setter. Ramirez has very high-end power and fills catcher pretty cheap. So you just went like bang, bang, and those two. And then maybe it's one where you just grab four and you mix and match some of those other spots and try and capture a lineup that way that'll probably travel through the sim pretty well. A lot of those shorter stack, high-end player type lineups seem to get through sims with nice results. And look, Lopez can come through from time to time. He's hit 6 homers. He's stolen 8 bags. But again, 80 WRC plus. You have Dane Myers down lineup for an affordable price. He's been very good, over 147 plate appearances. So maybe that's the direction you go at 33. 328, 374, 474, 4 home runs, 8 steals, a 137 WRC plus. Difficult to quibble with. Liam Hicks at 33.26 is maybe another direction. He's also hit 4 home runs, carrying a 127 WRC plus, over 140 chances. We've seen some of these guys. 263, 333, 442, over 108 with 3 homers, 4 steals, and a 112 WRC plus. Just last year added Dane Myers. So maybe a little bit of upside. That's around 300 plate appearances. Connor Norby has definite pop in the bat. 39.28. At worst, he's mix and match quality at third. He's hit 4 home runs, stolen 6 bags. The other results are kind of underwhelming, but a 9.2% barrel. Minor league results, something to key on. And then Hernandez. 366, 409, 512 over 44 chances. 6.5% barrels, 41.9% hard hits, a 158 WRC plus. Is this oddly a sneaky good Marlins lineup? Looking down, there's like 9 playable names all of a sudden. I was trying to talk it down as we went down the lineup, but it's really not that justified. Everybody in this lineup is loosely playable. It is not Marlins Day by any means, but it's a day on which they are at least in the mix as a cheap, probably owned at a justifiable clip for their price and their upside, but that kind of a day. Braves bats, Marlins bats, neither pitcher. But if you do it with Jansen Junk because the other guy's not even available. Blade Tidwell, 3 2/3 in 1 start in the show back at the beginning of the year. Has 11 starts in the minors, all in AAA, 4.76 ERA, a total of 73 strikeouts. That comes out to 4.76 ERA with a 4.31 xFIP against, 27.7% strikeouts, but 9.5% walks. Strikeouts are very real, but walks are something that we need to monitor. He's had double-digit walk rates in almost every stop throughout the minors on his way up. Was mostly stretched out, 6 2/3, 5 2/3, 6, 5 innings, just 3 2/3 in a bumpy start, 6 earned runs against the Yankees affiliate in his most recent game at AAA before the call. That was 5 days ago. At 76, moderately projected against a very high-end Phillies lineup. I just don't think we need to tangle with the Blade Tidwell. Wouldn't shock me if he had a couple effective innings, found a few strikeouts, and kind of defied expectations if you're just looking at those numbers. You can see in that 3 2/3 inning outing, his Stuff Plus measured out really strongly, and Stuff Plus does work in that kind of a scale. But again, just if he was 4,000, knowing that we're maybe getting 5 innings, at least as far as his capability, then maybe he'd be more on the board. I think 6 is really dicey. Phil's drawn a 5 implied total against. They have Zach Wheeler on the bump. Mets at just a 3.60 implied total. Challenging day to roster the Mets. They're pretty fully priced among the top-end players in this lineup. There are ways to offset that with the Nimmos, the Jared Youngs of the world, even Brett Beatty further down the lineup. No Starling Marte, it looks like. But I lean pretty heavily Wheeler. as one of the top projected pitchers on the slate. Very expensive, but comes in with a 2.76 ERA, a 2.55 xFIP, a sub 0.9 whip, 13.7% swinging strikes, leading to a 32.5% strikeout rate. Said he's planning to retire when his contract ends in 3 seasons. It'd be a shame. There's been no downgrade whatsoever in Zach Wheeler. He's honestly just getting better over the last few seasons. One of the best limiters of runs in all of baseball. Doesn't give up all that much power despite a little bit of a fly ball trajectory. Just excellent at limiting exit velo, limiting hard hits, difficult to square up. 88 innings in his 14 starts this season. One of the better options for depth in all of baseball. He'll be equally challenged by the Mets lineup as they will be by him. But good pitching does tend to beat good hitting. If you're going Mets, your priorities, as always, are Lindor, Soto, and Alonso. There's no surprise there. 14, and 17 home runs for those players. Maybe not league-leading talents as far as home run totals go, but among the many good home run hitters, and they're all piled at the top of this lineup. You can reach those guys as a 3-man if you wanted to, but it's an aggressively high price to draw down against Zach Wheeler. That's where it gets problematic. On FanDuel, it becomes also problematic because you only get 4 shots to average that price down, and Nimmo's at 31, so you're still coming in $3,500 a man for that 4-man. So you got to go down to this territory if you're looking to stretch for 4 and average your price down slightly. On DraftKings, you got a little bit more capability given the 5th man. You're obviously still using one of these guys in that equation, but at least you have the top 4 there. And then, you go those 4. You could easily go to Luis Torrens at just 28 and just book a really cheap catcher, but it's only bringing you down to 4,600 a man. So any way you slice it, the Mets are an expensive full stack to throw at Zach Wheeler. 360 implied total. Nothing in the world to say that Pete Alonso couldn't go yard here with Soto, Nimmo, and Lindor all on base ahead of him. Nimmo's underperformed his talent this year in the slash line, but he's hit 13 home runs. He's stolen 6 bags. A 305 on base is underwhelming, but I believe improving. And a 337 xWOB under the covers. He's hitting the ball very hard from the left side. Him in between Lindor and Soto for a cheap price is an asset when you stack this team up. Lindor's been tremendous, excellent way to fill shortstop in a vacuum, but not when he's facing Zach Wheeler. Soto, no concerns about the quality. Let other people worry about that. We just roster him around here. Go to him if you want to. If you're stacking Mets, he is probably still their top priority hitter. He just is that good. Jeff McNeil, mix and match quality, 34-28, 7 oddball home runs out of him. You're just looking at a BABIP-focused player, 352 on base. Maybe he slaps a couple singles into the outfield against Zach Wheeler. That's really all the upside, and then he needs some help from his friends. Don't, in an ongoing sense, really like Jeff McNeil that much. Jared Young is a cheap way to fill first base, but you got a positional conflict with Pete Alonso, so that doesn't really work. That's why you kind of have to go to Luis Torrens there to average down. 2,800 for the catcher, 17% barrels, 59% hard hits in a small sample. It's resulted in just 1 home run and a 116 ISO, but a 402 xWOB under the covers is definitely appealing given that premium contact. It's just we've never seen Luis Torrens actually capitalize on anything like that before. The contact's been an outlier. The results have been entirely within expectations, 86 WRC+. Brett Beatty, 35-27, has 8 home runs, but an otherwise pretty poor slash line. A 200 ISO, though, as a cheap option, down lineup with a 13.9% barrel, 46.1% hard hit. The only real downside is he's facing Zach Wheeler. Tyrone Taylor, mix and match quality outfielder at the absolute best in this spot. Top of the board for the Phils, who are very much in play. Kyle Schwarber, one of the top 2 and one of the only 2 guys above Spencer Torkelson, our home run pick of the day. The other one's Aaron Judge. Schwarb's mashes 23 home runs on the board this season. Hit one for us yesterday as the home run pick of the day. 16.5% barrels, nearly a 60% hard hit rate. You just play Kyle Schwarber against a rookie pitcher. It's not that difficult. Turner, 59-39. Not a bad way to fill shortstop himself. He's slashing 300, 359, 453. He's hit 9 homers, stolen 19 bases, 128 WRC plus and climbing. Dude's just good. He's fully priced again, but worth it. And then everybody else in this lineup is cheap. So it's easy enough to average the pricing down, more so than with the Mets, and they're in the worse spot than the Phils. So you do this, you grab those 2. A way underpriced Alec Bohm at just 37 fills either corner. I would probably think about like one of the 2 outfielders and not rostering all 3 outfielders from this team. So let's say we go Maximilian Kepler and save $100 there and take the power upside that Max offers from the left side of the plate. Nicky Castellanos is perfectly fine in that equation as well. He's out slashing Max so far. Max has a little bit more realistic thump, making better premium contact, higher home run total, higher ISO between the two so far. Castellanos a couple few points ahead by WRC plus. Again, either way there, but I'm trying to average my price down here, so I'll go those two, and then I'll take JT at 3,500 to fill out my catcher spot. And all right, it's essentially the same. 4,500, 4,460. Thought it was going to work out a little bit cheaper, but those top two guys are pushing it up a little bit. So instead, let me do this, and that'll realistically pull me down by a couple hundred. 43 on the nose. So you got to go with the wraparound play with Brandon Marsh. We've talked about that several times already this week. We talked about it with Gunn, and then again, Brandon Marsh getting on at a 342 clip, has 2 home runs and 162 chances, just a 115 ISO, but making very good contact right in line with expectation for his quality of contact. Draws double-digit walks each of the last 3 seasons. There are plenty of strikeouts there, but he's an ideal person to have for wraparound play for DFS because he gets on base, because he can hit the occasional home run or drive the ball for a double, provides correlated scoring, provides individual scoring from down there at 28, 26 across sites. So that's actually probably the outfielder in play. So you go there, or you could realistically go with Stop, but that pushes your price back up. The interesting way to play it would be Otto Kemp and Brandon Marsh. Kemp is not without talent, hasn't really seen great results in counting stats, but a solid 43 plate appearances slash line at least, and a decent pedigree. So maybe you go Kemp on one corner, Bohm on the other, Marsh in the outfield. You get the 2-man wraparound from down there, and we save another 100. We're at 42. Again, they're challenging because they're the Phillies at a 5+ implied total against a rookie pitcher. But there are ways to get there, and there is definite quality. When I use Real Muto, it's for a very specific reason. He's crushing baseballs. It hasn't been the greatest 250 plate appearances, 241, 308, 364, just an 88 WRC plus, only 5 homers, 4 steals. But 9.6% barrels, 45.9% hard hits is not far off the guy he's been the last couple seasons. 24% strikeouts, 8% walks. There's still a lot of JT Realmuto in JT Realmuto, so I'm still going there if I'm rostering Phils. More so on DK, but on FanDuel, you can put Bohm at third and you don't have Harper, so you can easily use Realmuto just in the first base spot, save your util spot for something else. Not out of play on either side. Zach Wheeler, Phillies bats, Mets bats, probably not going Blade Tidwell. Oh, Larry, at some point today / this weekend, I will most definitely watch Jaws. The true answer is probably that I'll watch Jaws at least 3 times before Sunday. But yes, the 50th anniversary of Jaws. Shares a birthday with my niece. Happy 10th birthday to Summer. I realize it is the internet. I probably shouldn't call these things out, but what are you going to do? Not enough people watching to worry about it. But yeah, 50th anniversary of Jaws makes you feel kind of old. If you think back to when we were children, or some of us anyway, were children, 6 years old in 1985. That would be a movie that came out in 1935. Just think about that for a moment. That's crazy. Fortunately, somewhere along the way in like the late 90s, time just kind of froze. Pop culture hasn't changed. Movies that came out then look essentially the same. Jaws looks slightly dated like all 70s movies kind of do. But it's still one of the best movies ever made, full stop. It's not a horror movie. It's more a slasher movie. It gets miscategorized as a horror movie. If you wanted to put it in the horror category, it's more like a Michael Myers, slasher kind of a thing. But it is quite literally just one of the best movies ever made. Steven Spielberg at the peak of his powers. Robert Shaw giving a killer performance. Richard Dreyfuss. What's his face? Chief Brody. Roy Scheider. Apologies to the great Roy Scheider for calling him what's his face. He deserves way better than that. Tremendous actor. Let me grab the let's see. Do we have this one? Where are we? Cards. Cards not in yet. All right, Andre Palante. his main attribute is this negative 1.9 degree average launch angle. He is typically pretty good at keeping the ball in the yard. So far this year, some mistakes have gone against him. 3.32% home run rate is not immaculate. It's also not bad, but it's just like around average. 4.83 ERA, but a 3.61 xFIP doesn't strike anybody out despite a 10.1% swinging, just a 16.3% strikeout rate overall. 24.6% CSW is part of that issue. He's 66, he's 74. You could get by for 6 clean innings with Palante. Maybe he finds a handful of Ks at a 23.6% strikeout rate for this Reds group, but I don't love it. I think he's at best playable, much more so as a $6,600 just bargain bin dart type option on DK as an SP2. In that role, he's functional, but it's less than likely. 417 is enough of an implied total for me to kind of go away from that. I don't know that it draws me to the Reds bats, though. Given his ability to keep the ball down, you can see the impact it's having. Even Ellie, 5.62 in the home run model. Everybody else below halfway to the magic number. So probably not a great Reds day. You do have some ability for counting stats in there, but only Ellie is in the double digits for home runs. Handful of stolen bases, handful of home runs for everybody else. Will Benson is a masher from the left side, but inconsistent at best. 6 home runs that all came in a rush when he first came back up. 230 ISO, 17.8% barrels, 57.5% hard hits. Is appealing against a soft tosser who allows plenty of contact and won't exploit the strikeout rate necessarily. But again, if he's just driving the ball with force into the ground, it's not really going to help. Tyler Stevenson is a very talented catcher. 13.8% barrels, 55% hard hits. Never owned enough at the $4,100 price tag on DraftKings where you have to play the position. 6 home runs, a 194 ISO, 108 WRC plus. He's been good, would be a big part of my plans on DK. And with no clear-cut first base option on FanDuel, I think you can just treat him like he's their first baseman. He's one of the better bats on the team. Gavin Lux, TJ Friedl are essentially the same guy in the top 2 spots. Play the price and position game between those two guys. Both light hitters. Both have been good at getting on base, creating plenty of runs. Friedel's got 8 home runs and 317 chances. He's stolen 9 bases, but you can see those are like outlier situational type home runs. It's not like he's out there barreling the ball consistently. Everybody up top does draw walks. Palante gives up a fair amount of walks. 8% is not nothing. Last year it was 9.4%, but you can see last year's home run number 1.57 on a 1.1 spectacular launch angle, but that is a full couple points higher than the average launch angle this year. In relief work 2 years ago, a negative 11.5 degree average launch. That's hilarious. Bottom of the Reds lineup, you get Jose Trevino, who's not the hitter he looks like, over 147 plate appearances. Just, I promise he is not that guy. He has been that guy. You're not paying a big tax for what he's done already, but you're unlikely to get ongoing performances like that out of that hitter. Jake Fraley, Matt McClain, mix and match quality this season. McClain has given us quietly some counting stats, 8 home runs, 11 steals. He's been otherwise very bad, but he was tremendous a couple years ago. He is barreling the ball, driving the ball a little bit, walking a little bit. So he's probably my go-to down lineup out of, these 4 guys. I love Will Benson, but we're not home run hunting today as much. That obviously also works against McClain, but McClain gives you a little bit more potential on top of that, and he wraps back around to the top of the lineup. But it's a bad spot for Reds overall, just given Palante's ability to kind of sap power a little bit. They might sequence a little, score some runs. They're not bad for sequencing at the top of the lineup, but it kind of falls apart a little bit down lineup. Cards are my challenge, my ongoing burden that I carry through this DFS season. Brendan Donovan up top is having a good year. They're going up against Brady Singer, 75-76 for him. He's capable of breaking off good starts from time to time, but overall is just middle of the road. He's given up too many barrels and hard hits and exit velo this year. He's gotten pretty lucky to be sub 3, given that all being over our concern thresholds on a 15.9 degree average launch. So the home runs are coming against Brady Singer. 4.34 ERA, a 4.63 xFIP, sub 19% strikeouts, 10.1% walks. There's not a lot to like there. Last time out, 6 innings, 4 strikeouts, 3 walks, of 1 run ball on 4 hits against Detroit. 2 earned runs over 5 against the Diamondbacks, 3 earned runs over 5 against the Brewers, a 2-run game, but 7 hits allowed over 7 innings against the Royals, struck out 3 and walked 1. You're just not spiking the good strikeout totals. He showed a few at the beginning of the year, and he was more viable then. He's really kind of fallen off for strikeouts, which he really needs because he's typically out there giving up a few runs. So cards bats are in play. You might need to goose them a little bit, I'll be honest, with the way that they're coming through the model. If you want to get there a little bit more aggressively, you might need to make sure that you're getting there a little bit more aggressively. I think it's reasonable because I do think, Brendan Donovan, as good as he's been, is overperforming his talent. Mason Wynn is just kind of mediocre and has been over 266 plate appearances. Ivan Herrera is very realistic, projects out like it though. 8 home runs, maybe we're a little light in the home run model so far. 213 ISO, but we need the stats. We need the projections to kind of catch up with the results so far, or we need some normalization. He's also 47 where you have to play catchers. 31 is more generous where you don't. Wilson at 4,032, 10 home runs, but pretty mixed results over the full season. Still a 117 WRC plus and a very compelling 378 xWOBA that tells us we should eventually get back to full bore Wilson Contreras production. Still 13.3% barrels, 46.9% hard hits. Alec Burleson is a mix and match quality outfielder who's overperformed a little bit over 227 plate appearances. Not bad, but should come down somewhat from those numbers. A normalistic 327 xWOBA under the covers. Nolan Arenado went deep for his 9th home run of the year. He might total out around 18 to 20, but that won't be a good Nolan Arenado season, especially not with the rest of the numbers looking like they are. That swing is broken and has been and will not come back. Lars Nootbaar, one of their best hitters, cheap, 3,600, 2,900. It's been a pretty rough season so far, over 324 chances, 9 home runs, 4 steals, a weak slash line outside of the 333 on base. 334 xWOBA still, even with the underperformance, creating runs 1% better than average, has a 9.1% barrel and a very appealing 51.4% hard hit. If we're just throwing bats from the cards at a bad righty or a mediocre righty, Lars Nootbaar has to be part of the equation. Pedro Pajes, Victor Scott, mix and match from the bottom of the lineup. Scott's up to 20 stolen bases with a 325 on base. Gives you a 282 xWOBA under the covers. It suggests anything here is probably turning downward or at best the best it'll get. 89 WRC plus. Not at all reliable, not even a really good correlated scoring option. Just a stolen base bonus guy if he happens to get on. Cards bats. Andre Palante. Reds bats, Brady Singer. It is loosely all 4 things in play, but the true appeal, I think, from this one is the cards bats. $5.17. We'll hit around 6 o'clock, which is where I was looking to punch out. We can make good time through some of these. Coors, we aren't going to have to talk much about the pitching, for example. This one, a little bit of conversation about the pitching. Mizurowski, like I said at the top of the show, I'm just kind of giving him 5 out of the gate here. I think they're going to manage him a little bit. Went 5, but came out, I believe, for the 6th in his last one before he twisted that ankle and then immediately came out of the game. If all goes well, maybe he gets a 6th. But the kid is nasty. For whatever he's going to be out there for, I expect a strong performance. What's going to make or break him as a DFS option and a just baseball option today is the walks. Walks have always been a problem for this pitcher. Every stop in the minors, he walked double-digit hitters, but he also struck out like mid-30s. Literally throws the ball 103 miles an hour. 129.82. One of the higher marks by Stuff Plus all season long from any pitcher. It's only a 5-inning measurement, but again, Stuff Plus models that way. Stuff Plus does work in 5 innings. It works on 1 pitch. 16% swinging strike rate in that debut, 27.8% punch outs. But you can see, walked a handful of hitters even in a good debut. That was 5 strikeouts against 4 walks to 18 hitters over 5 innings. He didn't allow a hit. He didn't allow a run. That was against the Cards. Relatively comparable matchup. There were probably a few more strikeouts in the Twins lineup on any given day. Did I reverse those? Way to go, asshole. This is why I can't talk and do this shit at the same time. Actually, that's not even true. I do backward stuff like that, half paying attention all throughout most days. Those are the correct teams for those lineups. So 22.7% strikeout rate for this Twins lineup is definitely something that Misiorowski could look to exploit. You have some reasonably high walk rates in that lineup, though. 10.9% on Wallner over 128 plate appearances. Nobody else in double digits, but numerous guys in the upper nines to mid nines, the upper eights. So it's not necessarily an easy spot for Misiorowski. He's fully priced at 8,500. Like I said at the beginning of the show, that becomes problematic just because they're pricing him like he's going to come out here and be an ace already, like he's not going to have any walk issues. So I think it's a really challenging spot. He should be like 8,000 on FanDuel and like 7,800 on DraftKings or something, in that territory. Should be a little bit cheaper on both sites. But again, really, really good. Wouldn't surprise me at all if you had, 5 and change innings of excellent baseball tonight and put up a decent enough score for the money. I think you do get a little bit of an artificially limited ceiling with that, though. Joe Ryan, 2.93 ERA, but a 3.68 xFIP under the covers, a 28.3% strikeout rate against a 5.4% walk is fantastic, a sub-1 whip, 11.9% swinging. He has given up some premium contact this year. That's been the hiccup with Joe Ryan throughout the season. But it's one of those situations where most of those home runs that he's given up, most of the premium contact, comes without guys on base. His worst start of the year was a 6-run game back against the Braves on April 20th. Struck out 5, walked 1, gave up 3 home runs, 6 runs, 8 hits. Gave up 4 runs twice. Otherwise has been below that all season long. Handful of strikeouts in his pocket. Going up against a good, not great Brewers lineup. There are some strikeouts throughout the middle of this lineup. Some upper 20s, mid 20s guys here. You're offset a little bit by a tremendously low Caleb Durbin strikeout rate, but we don't really care about Caleb Durbin and Joey Ortiz at the bottom of the lineup because they're just bad hitters. So they're non-threatening spots that artificially maybe lower the overall strikeout total, but they're not going to be putting big numbers up against him, most likely. Yeah, the guy's capable, but 2 home runs, 3 home runs, 216, 306, 327, sub Mendoza, 46 WRC plus, 82 WRC plus. Realistically, Sal Frelick is low strikeout. Decent ability to put bat on ball, get to first base, 348 on base. The average is coming down already a little bit, but he steals bases, he correlates, he scores some runs, capable of driving the ball from time to time for situational home runs. You do have a realistic power stretch with Churio, but he's been underperforming his talent this season. 194 ISO, 12 home runs, 14 steals across 331. That's south of expectations. Just 7.2% barrel, 38.2% hard hits. Even more concerning, I think. 102 WRC plus, just a 300 xWOBA. He's only 42 on DraftKings. He's more affordable over there than at 35. Still fully priced on FanDuel. Christian Yelich, making good contact, 14 homers, 11 steals. Substandard in the triple slash, but still a very good player. 110 WRC plus. Easy to reach on DK, less so on FanDuel at 34, but it's cheap enough. William Contreras at 39, 3,000. At best, a mix and match quality catcher this year. 6 home runs, 5 steals. We got to be honest, both Contreras is kind of underperforming their abilities this year. William has been the lower end performer so far, though, and has less to cling to in the batted ball events. Bryce Terang at 41.29, 16 steals, a good 352 on base. More a table setter, though, kind of miscast in the heart of the lineup here. Can hit the ball hard. 45.6% hard hits, but just 6.4% barrels, just 4 home runs on the board. I'd rather have Turang up top or at the bottom of the lineup. Rhys Hoskins is a very realistic power bat. 11 home runs on a good barrel rate, good hard hits, 10.94 to lead the team in the home run model today. Not a terrible consideration as a one-off going up against just the premium contact that Ryan allows. You're probably getting just strikeouts or a home run out of Rhys Hoskins today. So know that you're booking a 0 or maybe an oddball home run that'll be pretty low owned for those prices. Not a go-to option, but on the board. And then again, Collins, Durbin, Joey Ortiz. Collins has hit 4 homers, stolen 7 bags, and 154 chances. Does have a 115 WRC plus. Probably your most playable guy down there, but I think it's important to be realistic about who he really is. The Twins, definitely playable against Misiorowski. Good as he is, those walks are concerning. They could turn on one. They've got Byron Buxton at an 11.23 in the home run model. Matt Wallner at 8.56. You've got Trevor Larnach in there at a decent number. A couple other guys at decent enough numbers. So there's enough threat here. And again, the walk rate is high enough at 8.4% on the average that I'm a little concerned about the spot for Misiorowski. Wouldn't take Twins out of a lineup, and they're cheap. Outside of Buxton, 58.36 for him. I'm perfectly happy to pay that. It's been one of the better stretches for him, over 245 chances now. 15 homers, 12 steals, 343 on base, a 148 WRC plus. He kept mashed with the best of them. Matt Wallner hits the ball very hard, 13.3% barrels, 50+% hard hits, just 5 home runs and 128 chances, a 234 ISO. The home run total is okay for that sample, but defies a little bit the expectations based on the contact. So does the slash line. He should be a little bit better than he's been. 361 xWOBA backs that up, 113 WRC plus on the surface. Willie Castro, for a guy who's been good this year, fills multiple positions, including second on both sides for a cheap price. 42.1% hard hits out of Willie this year. 7 homers, a 371 on base is the most notable attribute. Good correlated scoring option, good individual performer at a cheap price. When he's hitting third, he's different than when he's hitting kind of more sneaky at the bottom of the lineup, but he's very usable in this role. Trevor Larnach at 38-28, 10 home runs. Medium strength slash line at 252, 324, 16. Created runs 8% better than average. Definitely belongs in stacks. Very affordable in the outfield. Carlos Correa, I'm still a believer. 5 home runs, pretty mediocre slash line. Difficult to justify overall, but low strikeout, medium walk. Still decent enough hard hit rate. We've lost some barrels, as I've called out a few times. He's just cheap at shortstop. I do believe there's upside still to come. Brooks Lee, 27, is a mixer at in the middle infield. Not a bad price on either side for a second baseman. He's hit 7 home runs and 220 chances. Doesn't really drive the ball very much, but a 7.3% barrel, just under 40% hard hits. You can see it kind of in the xWOBA, the ISO, what the results look like, and the underlying metric. Cody Clemens has been barreling baseballs like crazy. 13.6% barrels in his batted ball events over 121 plate appearances. It's resulted in 7 home runs and a 267 ISO, and he is the sneakiest guy in this lineup. People just don't play him all that often. 31 at second base, 24 at second base, belongs in some stacks and probably more aggressively than people will use him. Harrison Bader has had a good season so far, 7 homers, 7 steals from him. He's a mix and match quality outfielder who has given us a little bit more and is not priced up with a tax for the previous performance. So you can continue to go there, but it'll eventually peter out. Christian Vasquez, mix and match catcher. Joe Ryan, Twins bats. Mispriced Misiorowski. Brewers bats at the bottom. Probably not that much of a good day for Brewers bats. All right, Coors Field, Diamondbacks priority lineup. Let's see if we have it. We do. Fantastic. All right. Bunch of people here hanging out. Hit the like button down there. Subscribe to the channel. Even more importantly, if you get a chance, costs you nothing. You'll never see a pop-up. I won't email you anything. I don't even think I get your email address or anything like that. It's an anonymous subscription as far as I know. If I get access to any of that information, I don't know where to find it. Costs you nothing to hit the subscribe button. Legit would help over here at the rotoscouts side of that equation. More so, subscribe over at rotoscouts.com. Under $1 a day. We had a $10,000 NBA winner. We've been cashing tickets all season long in MLB. A lot of good stuff going on over at Rotoscouts. We're trying to keep your bankroll growing. We're trying not to take out of it. Not asking for hundreds of dollars a month for every single sport by sport. Under $1 a day. Weekly, monthly, or quarterly plans available. Access everything that hits that website. D-backs nearly a 7-run implied total against Austin Gomber. He's only made 1 start. He's an adequate enough pitcher. He's not bad, but he gets Coors Fielded a lot. Made 3 minor league starts prior to the start on the 15th. Went 4 innings exactly in each of them. Struck out 5, 3, and 5. It's just not a day where we're considering Coors Field arms as far as the Rockies arms. The interesting wrinkle there is Zach Gallen at 74.81. Really, really inexpensive for a guy we've seen pitch better than he's been this year over time. This year, 5.19 ERA, but a 4.31 xFIP that needs calling out under the surface. 21.7% strikeouts on sub 10% swinging, 28% CSW is atrocious. 11% walks essentially. Way too many home runs at 4+% on, again, above the line, way above the line, and above the line as far as our premium contact metrics. It's been a bad year, inarguably, for Zach Gallen. Last year, he had a 25.1% strikeout rate, allowed 2.09% home runs, 3.65 ERA, 3.62 xFIP. The year before, 26% strikeouts, 5% walks, 2.60% home run rate, 3.47 ERA, 3.49 xFIP.
I didn't even like him all that much in these seasons. I'm just not a big fan of the pitcher for whatever reason. A lot of downside days. But for the longest time, that was more biased than it was realistic. This year, the downside guy has mostly arrived over these 15 starts. But even that guy, for a matchup against a team with a 26.4% strikeout rate that we have targeted with worse pitchers, demonstrably worse pitchers already this season in Coors Field at similar pricing, I'll add, Zach Gallen's got to be on your board today. You don't need to take a big share of him, but he should not be removed from player pools, even with the Rockies at a 5+ implied total. Might not work out, might come up negative, could be a disaster, but he belongs in your player pool. Whether you actually go ahead and roster him should depend entirely on what your sim, sort, etc. results look like. I'll point out, if nothing else, he's pitched into the 7th inning in his last 3 starts. Gave up 4 earned runs on 6 hits exactly to both the Padres and the Reds in 2 of those. 6 1/3 against the Pods, 6 2/3 against the Reds. 7 innings of 3 runs, but 1 earned run ball against the Braves. 4 strikeouts and a walk in that one. 5 strikeouts, 3 walks against the Reds. 6 strikeouts, but 4 walks against the Pods. You can see where the problems come from. But he's been pitching fairly deep into games, good or bad. And this is a super gettable Rockies lineup. Again, I do think that they're improved by the return of Michael Talia, who now has 9 home runs after 3 home run weeks so far. He's been mashing since he came up. He was mashing in AAA. It's a problematic hitter. There's a lot of strikeout for Zach Gallen to go find. 38.2% strikeouts for Talia so far this year. That's why he went down to the minors, or part of it anyway. Ryan McMahon at a 30% strikeout rate. Hunter Goodman, good as he is, 14 home runs, a very solid slash line from an affordable catcher at Coors Field. He's super appealing as a bat, but he also strikes out at a 26.6% clip, walks just 5.1% of the time. Tyler Freeman sure doesn't strike out, doesn't really walk. He's slashing 310, 406, 437 on this team, on 106 plate appearances. Perfectly fine if you're just hunting around for a cheap outfielder, second base on FanDuel, but not a major threat as far as Zach Gallen's concerned. Jordan Beck at a 28% strikeout rate. Plenty of barrels. You have 6 hitters there with an average barrel rate, bad as this team is, of 12.3%. That is not nothing. That is very noteworthy. Average hard hit rate for that same group of 6 is 47%. But then you take the bad with the good. The average WRC plus for that same group, despite all those hard hits, all that premium contact, their WRC plus is 89 as a group. 11 points below average for run creation, despite all that premium contact and power. The most likely scenario is Zach Gallen does get nailed for a home run or, a big run scoring double that nearly gets out in this giant ballpark. Some Coors Field impact for sure. Some impact from the premium contact here. But he might do that and then cruise through 7 innings with 8-9 strikeouts. And he's given up 3 runs, but you're paying 74 for him. So you're fine. He's in play. The Rockies bats are equally in play against. It would probably be a 1-for-1 hedge. And I actually do like the Rockies. Despite how enthusiastic I might have just sounded about Zach Gallen, I do like the Rockies bats today for all that premium contact, for all his struggles. It's an equal back and forth. So I'll have plenty of Rockies, probably again in a 1-for-1. If I had to pick, just given the many, many other options on a large slate, I would take Rockies bats if I'm only building one, not as my full choice, but like building one lineup, you have to use one or the other, Zach Gallen or the Rockies bats. I'll take the Rockies bats. On the Diamondback side, it's way more straightforward. You just attack Austin Gomber with this excellent team and they're near 7-run total. Everyone in the world will do that though. So they're going to be popular. Plenty of ways to get different with it though. 62-41 at Coors Field for Ketel Marte is not problematic. Dozen home runs on the board for him, a 249 ISO. Adaldo Perdomo in the 2 spot. Lourdes Gurriel. No Corbin Carroll. Missed, I believe, a couple games in a row. 51-37 for Perdomo is adequate. It's okay price-wise. He gets on base like crazy. He's a very good correlated scoring option. He steals bases, can put a little bit of bonus scoring on that. At those prices, hitting second, where people will be going to him like crazy, though, he does somewhat become a little skippable. You could go easily Marte into Lourdes Gurriel, Eugenio Suarez, Josh Naylor, who I want very much in my lineups for their power upside and for their just heart of the order run point creation ability. And then, honestly, give me some Randall Grichuk against the lefty. 3,800. That's really cheap for Randall Grichuk's quality, especially when you get him against the lefty. 10.4% barrels, 50% hard hits on the season, 3 home runs and 110 chances, a 180 ISO. Tremendous bat over time as far as, medium grade power. 12 home runs, solid slash line in 279 chances last year. Just 16, but a solid slash line in 471 the year before. 19 in a basically full season back in 22. Randall Grichuk is a decent enough hitter, and he's very, very cheap at Coors Field. That's where you don't want to discount these guys. He'll probably get real popular for that. But if he manages to sneak through lower on than all these guys, take advantage. Tim Tawa at 45.31, very playable. 6 home runs, 6 steals, Coors Field, 11.2% barrels, but probably also priced for a little bit of overperformance in those 137 plate appearances. Ildemaro Vargas is a mix and match quality hitter at the absolute best. He fills spots. He's very cheap. Way to get different on either site. And then Jose Herrera in this lineup. No Gabriel Moreno. It is a bit of a downgrade with no Moreno, no Corbin Carroll, obviously. So a couple weak points down the bottom of the lineup. But that's probably also where you find some differentiation. That's also probably where you can find a slate break, just because nobody would be on a Jose Herrera 2-run double. He's not very reliable for that. Last year, 1 home run in 114 chances. The year before, none in 120. So far this year, 1 in 105. Mix and match to a T, but Coors Field, et cetera, et cetera. D-backs bats, Rockies bats, Zach Gallen for a cheap price. Don't get carried away with Zach Gallen. Don't go into it with false expectations. Don't blame me when it doesn't work out. But the way he's priced, what his actual talent looks like, he's in play. Astros Angels, Hunter Brown, monster spot. Accidentally called him Michael Lorenzen at the beginning of the show because I scrolled down too far. This pitcher is tremendous, and he's having a really good year. 1.88 ERA, a 2.70 xFIP, 32.3% strikeout rate, rivaling Zach Wheeler for dominance on this slate. Sub-1 whip for him as well, a 12% swinging strike rate. Just little challenged maybe by some home run upside from the Angels, the hard hitters in that lineup. But this is a team that checks in with a 24.8% strikeout rate. And Brown has been excellent at limiting premium contact himself. 6.3% barrels, 85.7 miles an hour of exit velo, 31.3% hard hits. It is difficult to hit home run against this guy. So I'm not really worried about the spotting anyway. Love the upside for him. Astros bats going up against Yusei Kikuchi. I think it's a gettable enough spot where we can consider some low strikeout Astros. They've got the positive attributes that connect well with Kikuchi's negative attributes, which include, as always, allowing too much premium contact and walking with too many hitters. Right now, he's pitched to a 3.05 ERA, but a 4.46 xFIP is probably the more realistic number, given the 12% walks against 21.7% strikeouts this year. In years past, he's been better for strikeouts. We've seen 27-ish% strikeout rates with all those walks and all that premium contact and home run issues from this pitcher. He's managed the home run ball a little bit this year. I think that's where he's slipping through with a low ERA and that, uglier xFIP. A couple long balls against in those games would have bent that nice looking ERA into a much more realistic territory. He's usable here against the Astros because he's cheap. 76 works better as a SP2 on DraftKings. FanDuel, 84. I don't know how many times you really need to go there. Wouldn't stun me if he had another decent 6-inning day, came away with 4 or 5 strikeouts, a run or 2 allowed. But the downside is very visible. You could fall into the basement with this pitcher any given slate. If we're going Astros bats against at that mid-4s implied total, they're the more appealing of these two offenses. Jeremy Pena at 46.34, highly playable given the high quality season. Monty mentioned in chat yesterday that he's shooting for 30 stolen bases. He's halfway there, slightly before the halfway point in the season. So he's got a good shot at it. 9 home runs on the board also. Creating runs 43% better than average. It's the best 322 plate appearances of his life. I hope he keeps it up. Isaac Paredes at 44.34 against Yusei Kikuchi. Definitely can sign up for some of that. Let's see what this ballpark looks like for him real quick. I love that he's my default now that comes up when I just type StatCast in. I just type stat and it pops up. Isaac Paredes, is that who you want? I've looked him up so many times now for this ballpark thing. This is a pretty negative ballpark for him. Oh, no, wait, sorry. I'm looking at the wrong A. I was looking at the Braves. This is the same. This is a pretty negative ballpark for him. He's hit 15. His total in Houston, his expected total in Houston, which is the best ballpark for him, would be 16. So one more than he's actually hit overall. In this ballpark, full time, it would be 10. Not the worst park for him. There's a couple 8s on this board, but one of the lower end ballparks overall for his power, just for the unique way that his power plays. That said, still very good at getting on base, carrying a very good 135 WRC plus, low strikeout, high walk, perfect opportunity, perfect style hitter to throw against Yusei Kikuchi. So even if he doesn't homer, and he's got a good enough shot at it, 8.35 in the model, love the upside for Paredes. This is just a collision of things he does well working against things that the pitcher does poorly. Jose Altuve, 12 home runs on the season, a 300 xWOBA, is rising slowly, at least hopefully giving some support for the turnaround. Still obviously underwhelming and, gives us a little bit of pause in saying that Jose Altuve's back, but he's been a much changed hitter over his last 100 and change plate appearances. 112 WRC plus on the season now too. Jainer Diaz, we need that kind of turnaround for him to fully translate. He is carrying a 341 xWOBA that says it should. Barrel rate and hard hit that say it should. Strikeouts and walks look very similar to last year when he was tremendous. I fully expect him to keep on climbing, 7.75 in the home run model today. Cam Smith at 35-28, highly playable, getting on base. Another player who just, good option to throw at Kikuchi. He strikes out plenty, so that could feed Kikuchi a little bit, but he also draws some walks, sees a lot of pitches. 344 xWOBA under the covers and creating runs 18% better than average. Christian Walker, just play the power upside against Kikuchi. If he makes a mistake against Walker, it's going to travel. So I like him, 9.71 in the home run model today. Down a spot in the lineup, obviously underwhelming this season, but very cheap at 37.28. Jake Myers, Mauricio Dubon, Cooper Hummel, mix and match quality all. Myers is having a good year. On the Angels side, 361 implied total for them. A lot of home run power. Multiple guys in the double digits already. Zach Neto's tremendous to start things out, but Hunter Brown, man, on the mound, his ability to check power, limit everything, I'm leaning heavily in his direction. So is Vegas, 3.61 implied total. If you're going at Angels, Zach Neto's a high priority bat. Premium contact like crazy from the shortstop spot. 53-33, more fairly priced on FanDuel. 10 homers, 12 steals. Mediocre production otherwise, but a 113 WRC plus is tremendous. A 363 xWOBA, all the contact he makes. He's excellent. Nolan Schanuel hit his 5th home run of the year the other day. We're mostly looking at him for on-base correlated scoring, leading into Mike Trout, who's only 48, 3,000. 12 home runs on the season for Trout, a 17.9% barrel, 54.5% hard hits. You think maybe we get him back over 5,000 DraftKings? 230 ISO, a 406 xWOBA. If you have any concerns, they should be erased. Taylor Ward at 4, 3,019 homers out of him. Just a power bat, really. Medium walk rate this year, a lot of strikeouts, but plenty of upside for power. If Hunter Brown makes a mistake, could certainly travel. It's just Hunter Brown doesn't tend to make that mistake. Logan O'Hoppe, tons of barrels, tons of hard hits, also a lot of strikeouts, even fewer walks than Taylor Ward. Jorge Soler has been kind of that guy as well, low average. Low power output out of Soler is the most concerning thing this year. Just 8 home runs, a 143 ISO, despite the 9.9% barrels, which is substandard for him by a few points. Logan O'Hoppe's finding plenty of barrels now, 16.2%, 52.8% hard hits. He's hit 14 bombs this season, just checking in against a pitcher who doesn't really allow that much power. Luis Rengifo, maybe showing some signs of life lately. He's hit a few balls squarely recently, 218, 252, 288. Obviously a very long way to go to find any kind of quality, but maybe sneakily since that 2 home run game showing a little bit of life. Joe Adell showing tons and tons of life. 15 homers on this season, a 250 ISO, 14.5% barrels, 46.7% hard hits. You heard it here first. If you heard nothing else here first, if you were here on opening day, you heard that Joe Adell's breakout season was coming. And really that it came last year and nobody noticed. 20 home runs, 15 steals last year. He's never going to hit for average, never going to be consistent for on base. Too many strikeouts, not enough walks. But dude can mash. Just not a good spot for him. Probably a strikeout victim multiple times over against Hunter Brown today. Christian Moore at the bottom of the lineup has been pretty ineffectual over his first 20 plate appearances. Good pedigree, should be able to hit. But again, bad spot today. Hunter Brown, Astros bats, Yusei Kikuchi, and then, really limited shares of Angels bats, I think. Damn it. It looks like 3 to go, but it's 4 to go. Royals, Padres, 5:45. No lineups in any of these last 4 games. Let me try and get us through this. We might go a little bit lighter touch on these last couple of games just because it's a big task to copy paste all these lineups. It's going to take a few more minutes. Larry C saying, I bet New York Yankees ownership gets bumped up some with no Carroll in the Arizona lineup. That'd be a good thing, man. I would take that. If I can get Arizona a little bit lower on than they ought to be, I'd be fine with that, but love the spot for the Yanks today. Greg saying, question, if the DFS sites bump up the prices in Coors, doesn't it effectively negate the advantage for hitters? It's like $500 on FanDuel. Yes and no. Depends because they don't necessarily do it for everybody. So you can still kind of play the average game as far as some of the pricing. And typically, with some exceptions for like when Judge is at like 8,000 or whatever he comes into Coors at, or Shohei, somebody like that, I think it balances more toward that top end guy where it becomes more problematic at the very, very top. I think a couple $100 on top doesn't necessarily close the gap with the advantage that Coors is typically provided for hitters. But the combination of the higher price and the popularity is why a lot of the time we talk about, all right, if you want to get away from Coors, if you want to not go there. That's why I tend to, a lot of the time, look more at the Rockies when they're at home than the visiting team, because the Rockies get that bump. And if they're facing a mediocre pitcher, then fire away. Not necessarily that today. Zach Allen's been very mediocre this year, but overall, he's got more career history of being slightly better than mediocre with good results. But as I've said multiple times already, even when he was good, I didn't really like him that much. Hopefully that loosely answered your question, Greg. I think it does impact it, but I don't think it fully balances it. But when you work, as I said, the ownership into the equation, you might be on something. It might imbalance it a little bit. Trevor Larnach scratched from the Twins lineup as power points out. We'll grab the new one. Let me actually do that now so I don't forget. The hell did that go? Oh, they're there. All right, so that just cost us a couple minutes when I said I was going to try and pick up the speed a little bit and fly through these last few. Michael Lorenzen, 62-79, sub 20% strikeouts, adequate enough strikeout to walk. It's not terrible, but a 4.91 ERA, a 4.46 xFIP, mediocre CSW, allows plenty of premium contact and 4+% home runs. I think it just leads you into Padres bats, if anything, from this one. Nick Pivetta, obviously, is the other thing from this one that you want to consider. The low strikeout nature of the Royals and their bat-on-ball approach, their effective sequencing, has me a little bit skeptical about the extreme upside of Pivetta. He's priced a little bit lower than the top end aces, and he projects relatively similarly, and he's been giving us enough that I think it balances all of that, and you probably do just go to him. But I would play a few Royal stacks against. They'll be low owned. They're good enough to beat him. Not a great spot to roster Royals, but it's a good lineup. It's one of those spots that we'll look for with a good lineup against a good but second tier pitcher. I think it's playable there. Jonathan India is cheap at the top of the Royals at 33.26, 3 home runs, no steals, down to a 318 on base. He's kind of plummeting. He's going the opposite direction than we expected. 80 WRC plus. They might remove him from that leadoff spot before long, and then he just falls off the board entirely. As long as he's up there, though, I think you continue to go to him in combination with the other hitters for correlated scoring, but he's just become a cheap spot filler and not much more. Bobby Witt's a superstar, 9 home runs, 21 steals. You just play him. Michael Garcia has been playing like a star, not a superstar necessarily, but 313, 372, 493, 40 points above average for run creation, an excellent 345 xWOBA to go with his 8 home runs, his 15 steals. He's been tremendous this year. Vinny, 4,200, 11 home runs, 270, 330, 418. Yes, he had a slow start to the year, but can we correct these prices? For crying out loud. 7.7% barrels, 44.7% hard hits. All of a sudden I turned into my grandma. For crying out loud. Sal Pettis, 13.9% barrels, 45.8% hard hits, 8 home runs in his season. Underperforming the premium contact, underperforming the pedigree, the career history. It's still Sal Pettis in there. He's gotten really cheap at 34, at 28 on FanDuel, just for the contact that he's making alone. We're not far off the mark. We will see results from Sal. Jack Caglianone hit his first and second home runs, 9.3% barrels, 53.5% hard hits, up to a 393 xWOBA under the covers, despite some underwhelming first couple of bumps in the road. Kid's tremendous, and he's just cheap at 3,023, and people aren't going to go there all that much against Pivetta in this ballpark. If you're going Royals, Caglianone is a really interesting option to include, and they're very affordable. Again, getting him in with Vinny, Sal, just straight up the ladder there, honestly. That would be my 5, man. That's 4,080. That's one of the cheaper combinations we've looked at. But again, sub 3.5 implied total speaks for itself. Pavetta's got a 3.40 ERA, a 3.54 xFIP, plenty of strikeouts at nearly 28%, sub 7% walks, a 105 whip, a lot of swinging strikes, has given up some barrels. That's something to kind of maybe focus on. This home run rate doesn't necessarily match that barrel rate, the hard hits, the exit velo, a lot of fly balls. So it maybe plays up some power for the Vinnies, the Sals, the Caglianones, the Bobby Witts of the world. You can definitely throw Pods bats at Michael Lorenzen to your heart's content. That said, they're not running away with an implied total. He's been okay this season. They're just kind of average themselves, especially with no, what's his face in the lineup? Jackson Merrill. Fernando Tatis is excellent. Manny Machado is excellent. Gavin Sheets is having a really good year. Everybody else in the lineup is problematic at best. An underperforming Luis Arias, and I've talked about the positional challenges at first base that he gives you. He's just a slap hitter. He doesn't belong in the 2 spot or at first base, really. 36 is at least cheap, so it somewhat offsets that, but not a great season out of Arias as a correlated score. Tatis is a superstar, and he's a little bit cheap at 5,138. Manny is cheap at 5,036 for the season he's having and for the career that he's had. This just jibes with Manny Machado's previous career. Gavin Sheets at 33 is 20 and 29 is inexpensive for the season he's had. 12 home runs, a 203 ISO so far, 10.4% barrels, 54.6% hard hits. We need it to sustain in the ongoing sense. 351 xWOBA right now says it will. Jake Cronenworth, Xander Bogaerts. Bogey had a good day yesterday. After riding with him basically all season, yesterday I was like, all right, I'm finally going to admit it's a problem. He went out, I think he went 4 for 4, had a monster day, 239, 313, 340. The production has definitely waxed and waned at the absolute best. Playable at 27. You like him at second base, not shortstop. 32 on DraftKings at short is a little bit bumpier. Maybe that was the turn, though. Maybe we saw the bottom and he turned and we're coming back up, though. I hope. Trenton Brooks puts good bat on ball. 1 home run in 5 plate appearances, 2,200, 173 WRC plus in his tiny sample, a 100% barrel rate. It's probably just that 1 home run. That's probably his only batted ball event. Actually, I could say for sure it is. Elias Diaz, mix and match quality catcher. Bryce Johnson, cheap in the outfield, but deservedly so. That goes Nick Pivetta, Padres bats, Royals bats, and limited shares, if anything, of Michael Lorenzen. Guardians against Jeffrey Springs in this ballpark are a big target for shares, I think, here. For one, this is the guy that I mentioned all the way back at the beginning of the show that I almost made the sneaky home run pick of the day. 10.93 in the home run model for David Fry. He's carrying an 8.3% barrel, 58.3% hard hits over his 29 plate appearances. A miserable slash line, a 74 WRC plus, has hit 1 home run so far this season. Last year, we saw him hit for a little bit of power in a short stretch, 392 plate appearances. He hit 14 long balls. Year before, 4 in 113 chances. So reasonable opportunity to turn on one against Jeffrey Springs, who's allowed a 3.50% home run rate on 8.2% barrels. This ballpark plays up power, so I like the upside for some Guardians. Primarily a cheap David Fry, as well as every single time you build a Guardian stack Jose Ramirez at 6,500, 13 home runs, 20 steals, and yet another phenomenal MVP caliber kind of a season from Ramirez. Stephen Kwan at 44.28 is very usable against this pitcher from the top of the lineup. You don't sweat the lefty with Kwan. 6 home runs, 10 steals, ludicrous ability to put the ball in play, get to first base, a 125 WRC plus, dynamite correlated scoring option with Ramirez with a cheap David Fry, who has catcher eligibility, by the way, on DraftKings. Carlos Santana has stolen a couple bases this week, which is a little bit odd. He's slashing 245, 339, 369 on the season. A lot of on-base skills, a 105 WRC plus, 8 home runs, but not hitting the ball quite as hard as he used to in terms of maybe the barrels, the results, just 6.2% barrels. Does have a better hard hit rate, to defy what I just said, but getting there in slightly different ways. 8 home runs on the board, slightly off the pace from a guy that we're typically accustomed to seeing hitting about 20, but not far off the pace. Maybe he totals out 16, 18 instead of 18, 20. Very, very playable at first. Depending on what comes out in the lineup, you might have the positional conflict, but probably not Manzardo left-handed against the lefty. Gabriel Arias at 32-24 has 5 home runs, 3 steals, mediocre slash line, but puts decent bat on ball, 10.1% barrels, 41.1% hard hits against a pitcher who's been allowing good bat on ball in this ballpark where we want to play that attribute up. Arias can get into some Guardian stacks. I don't love him for 32 at short. I'll take him for 24 at second on FanDuel. Jonathan Rodriguez, definitely some upside there for some premium contact from the right side. Limited experience so far, very cheap, probably going to go under-owned for the potential quality. A lot of strikeouts, not that much production so far. Ana Martinez, kind of the same thing. You can get some production from him at second base, some quality bat on ball. He's hit 4 home runs, stolen 4 bases in 209 chances. Not giving you all that much else, a 74 WRC plus and a 265 xWOBA. But against this pitcher in this ballpark, cheap price second base, you can go there a few times. Lower priority than many of the other hitters in this lineup. Austin Hedges is a mix and match quality catcher. He's hit 3 home runs. Maybe you get lucky with a home run, but it would just be a luck kind of a thing. And then I skipped over Lane Thomas accidentally. Righty bat, who formerly has seen plenty of success against lefties. Pretty weak 95 plate appearances this year. Pretty bad season overall last year. 15 homers, 32 steals is at least compelling for our DFS purposes. 99 WRC plus, just short of the mark. Year before, 28 homers, 20 steals with Washington. He was tremendous that year. On the A's side, you get all this power upside from the A's. They're going up against Tanner Bybee. This version of Bybee over 14 starts, just a 19.5% strikeout rate, 3.79 ERA, but a 4.33 xFIP. 4.19% home runs. A lot of home runs allowed from Bybee this season. He's very cheap on DraftKings. I think he's in play here. Given how he projects out, given a little bit of strikeout potential against the team that does, for all their power upside, have a 25.4% strikeout rate. It is in no way safe. I would be challenged to roster it that many times against the FanDuel pitching board, just where he's priced at 89. But at 7,000 on DraftKings, he's got to be in your SP2 mix. Got to be. You don't have to trust him, but you have to include him in your player pool at that price. That said, same thing as with Gallen against the Rockies. In one lineup where I had to take one thing, Bybee or the A's bats, it's the A's bats for sure. Lawrence Butler, 47, 334, 11 homers, 11 steals. Tremendous season so far. 118 WRC plus. Needs to come up a little bit in the walks. Needs to push the strikeouts down to fully capitalize on his extremely good skill set in multiple categories. But mashes baseballs, 10.3% barrels, 45.6% hard hits. You get Jacob Wilson at 532 is a very good way to fill shortstop. Ties directly into Soderstrom, Brent Rooker, Kurtz with all their power upside. Why not take the table setter for those guys who's getting on at a 399 clip over 302 plate appearances and carrying a 158 WRC plus to lead the regular performers on this team. Soderstrom's a masher. All 3 of these guys have 13.5+% barrel rates, just under 50% hard hit rates, 14, 15, and Kurtz in 146 plate appearances and now up to 9 home runs and might pass those 2 if he keeps his recent pace up. He's been crushing balls. 260 ISO out of him so far, 124 WRC plus. Just kid fulfilling his potential. 3,500 is way too cheap, especially when there's no positional conflict with him and Soderstrom. That's an asset on DraftKings because all these guys, at best, fairly priced. It's challenging to even do that. You're at 4,500. That's comps with like the Mets and some of those other ones that we were looking at. But if you went like, want the table setter, I want like all 3 of those guys. It is challenging. I would probably mix in Luis Urias at second, and I can get it down to 42, 4180. Challenging. I like Urias down here at second better than I like Max Muncy at third. 2,800, 2,600 for this Max Muncy. 5 home runs, but otherwise pretty empty performance. A 72 WRC plus on the season. Austin Wins, if he's the catcher, 46-29 across sites. He's hit 5 home runs in an awful hurry. 64 plate appearances. Another guy who's just been mashing. He's just very expensive for that immediate performance on DraftKings. That's an overreaction. $2,900 on FanDuel was a lot more reasonable and realistic. He is supposed to hit, but I'm very skeptical about that price. That said, it probably keeps some ownership away. Urias again can hit home runs on occasion, low-owned home runs when you go to him, 7 on the season so far. Also getting on at a 340 clip. He's been really good for correlated scoring, 111 WRC+. Denzel Clark, putting good bat on ball, if nothing else. 1 home run on the board, 4 steals, pretty mediocre slash line, or actually very poor slash line so far, a 33 WRC+, but a talented kid. Guardians bats, A's bats, Tanner Bybee, no Jeffrey Springs for me. Thank you very much. Nats and the Dodgers. Gorman hitting cleanup for the Cards per Power and Larry C. Universe Galaxy says, hey, can I join your panel and explain why Michael Jordan fans are the worst sports fans of all time? It won't be boring. I'll make it interesting, and I have a popular page, and you can plug your page. I mean, it's not much of a panel so much as me sitting here talking to myself and you guys just solo about baseball. If you have content that you want to provide, I'm happy to find a space for it and throw it up and give you a plug or anything. I'm going to read it first to make sure I don't have to agree with it, but I'm going to make sure it's well written and fact based. So get your stuff right. And if we're talking about why Michael Jordan fans are the worst sports fans, then sure. But if your argument is that Michael Jordan was in any way not good or not one of the 2 best players of all time, and in my opinion, agreeing with Doug, he's the best player of all time, probably not going to get much legs, but happy to give it a look, man. Sure. And welcome aboard. Dive into the Discord. Put the opinion in there. That's free reign. I don't restrict speech in the Discord. Don't get in there and use a bunch of foul words and insult people and bring them down based on race, creed, sexual orientation, and so on and so forth. But otherwise, sports speech I certainly aren't going to censor. Yeah, Larry C nailed it. I'll look at it if you subscribe here on the YouTube channel. I don't even need you to subscribe for the $1 a day. I mean, I could use it, but subscribe on the YouTube channel. And I'll take a look. But welcome aboard, Universe. Michael Jordan's the best basketball player of all time. Full stop. Nats 363 implied total. Dodgers much better than that at nearly a 5. Mackenzie Gore is tremendous. 2.89 ERA, 2.71 xFIP, a 33.6% strikeout rate. I think that's the highest on the slate. Tim, Zach Wheeler, and what was it, Joe Ryan? Whoever the other one was at 32%. It's been the best year of Mackenzie Gore's life. 14.9% swinging. He's just going up against the Dodgers. It dings him a little bit, but he comes back up for air with a $9,800, $9,700 price for a pitcher who's been easily pitching into the $11,000 and $10,000 price tier. So a little bit inexpensive for the quality. No reason to think that he can't beat this Dodgers team. No reason to think that he can't give us a good DFS day. He's done it throughout the season. No Freddie Freeman for the Larry C. Per Larry C for the Dodgers. That lineup is not yet on Labs. Not going to be easy to grab, but if Freddie's not in there, bump to Mackenzie Gore. Freddie's tremendous even against lefties. You still do have presumably Ohtani and Mookie Betts and Will Smith and Teoscar Hernandez and Andy Pajas and so on to worry about. It's a tremendous, ridiculously talented lineup, but Freddie's one of the more realistic low strikeout guys. He's one of the best bats in the entire universe. So yeah, a little bit of a dip for the Dodgers, a little bit of a bump there for Mackenzie Gore. Not going to reflect it in the fantasy projection necessarily, but for your money, there's upside in Gore even against this Dodgers team. I think you do roster some Dodgers against, good as he's been. There are things to nitpick here. 9.1% barrel, 17.8 degree average launch, 45.9% hard hits is way over our threshold. 91 miles an hour of exit velo is a full mile an hour over our threshold. He's lucky to be at 2.82% home runs on that kind of premium contact allowed. So if you're going to play up an attribute for the Dodgers, let it be their power. Definitely take some pokes at those and look for the bad day of Mackenzie Gore. And the Dodgers probably will not be owned commensurate with either their talent or a nearly 5-run implied total. Nats against Clay Kershaw. They do find success against lefties from time to time. Kershaw just a 17.4% strikeout, 3.25 ERA, 4.33 xFIP. Last 2 starts, as I mentioned, have been pretty good. Went 7 in his most recent one. That was against the Giants. 7 innings, 5 Ks, a walk, 3 hits, no runs. 5 innings of 7 strikeout ball at St. Louis. The start before that gave up 6 hits, 1 earned run, but was otherwise clean. No walk in that game. That was a big step up in quality in those 2 starts after his first 4. So not going to say we're fully back with Clay Kershaw, but against a gettable enough Nats lineup for 72, for 82, if I could just get like the old as in like elderly, but still effective version of Clay Kershaw at those prices, I will take some shots. Very much on the board. Some Nats bats against wouldn't be crazy, but they're only drawing a 3.63 implied total. Alex Call from the right side, 37-27 against the lefty, definitely is in play. Typically will find himself in the leadoff role. James Wood, CJ Abrams might see some struggle against this lefty. You know, there are lefties and there are lefties, and Clay Kershaw still, even with the, you know, the age factor and the limitations now, still qualifies, snapping off that Hall of Fame curveball from time to time as that other kind of lefty. So maybe a little bit of ding there, but those 2 kids are phenomenal. 20 home runs from James Wood, 9 with 15 stolen bases out of CJ. If I'm building Nat stacks, they're still very much in my stacks as the top 2 priority bats in this lineup. It's just maybe we give them a little bit of a ding for facing Kershaw. Chapato, Ahmed Rosario, Brady House, Josh Bell, Riley Adams, Jacob Young. If you're determined to roster Nationals, pick your poison. You got some small sample opportunities so far. Chapato should be able to put good bat on ball, has yet to do it in his 9 chances this year. We saw him for 132 last year. He hit 4 home runs, was pretty mediocre otherwise. Brady House does have some pedigree for this team. He's a high-end prospect for them. 2,500 at short on FanDuel, 3,000 at third on DraftKings. Plays a little bit differently site to site. You probably just don't go there all that much. Does hit from the right side at least. Ahmed Rosario, okay season, but that means he's at 263, 298, 404. A 352 xWOBA is nice under the covers, but we need eventually one time for that under the covers number to rise to the surface with this hitter. He's just never effective. 95 WRC plus. Josh Bell, mix and match quality. He's hit 9 home runs, but he's sub Mendoza. This is Josh Bell to a T. This is just what he always does. Low strikeout, decent walk, decent contact. Sees no good results for it. Riley Adams, dead min price as a catcher. Maybe you could one-off that a couple times. Riley Adams does put good bat on ball from the right side against lefties. But again, Clay Kershaw's probably just going to break him. 42.9% strikeouts over his 56 plate appearances. Plays into Clay Kershaw's strengths a little bit. 0.091 average against and a 107 on base so far from Riley Adams. Jacob Young just steals bases. 5 on the season and 149 chances. He's not even really doing that. Ohtani, yes. Betts, yes. Will Smith, yes. Freddie's not in the lineup. Teoscar, yes. Andy, yes. These guys are all mix and match quality. It's the Dodgers. You don't really need me to go into them, I don't think. Everybody up at the top is a star. Everybody down bottom is at least playable. You get many multi-position options. Easy ways to average down the pricing. I will call out that Andy Pajes is very affordable at 41.33. He's hit 15 home runs, tremendous year, 134 WRC plus. Do not sleep on Andy Pajes. If Max Muncy's in the lineup, you could throw him against the lefty. I don't mind Max in that situation, but it would be a little bit of a ding. It's probably just going to become a strikeout or home run kind of a situation for Max. Teoscar from the right side, lots of power. Will Smith, lots of everything, and the other guys are superstars. Cheap Clay Kershaw. Dodgers bats very immediately followed by Mackenzie Gore opportunities, and then the Nats bringing up the rear in that four-piece equation. 6:08, last game up, and we get to an interesting pitcher at the very end of the day. Oh, now the Dodgers lineup lands on laps. Conforto in the lineup. No Max Muncy. No Freddie Freeman. Conforto's been terrible this season, but he is putting very effective bat on ball in terms of batted ball events. That said, I wouldn't prioritize him against a very high quality lefty. Red Sox lineup is here. That's what they're working with. Wilyer Abreu back from the IL. Short stint after tweaking his oblique, but they just kind of needed an excuse to move somebody out of the lineup for a minute. I think that's more what that injury was. 13 home runs on the board for Wilyer. 14.1% barrels. Capable of mashing any given righty, but Hayden Birdsong is good. 2.79 ERA, 3.97 xFIP in a hybrid role between some starts, some relief work, some bulk innings. 24.5% strikeouts on an 11.9% swinging works well for me. 9.1% walk, a little bit too high still and not a good enough CSW. 1.28 whip, too many guys on base so far. 6.7% barrels is tremendous, but it comes with a fly ball trajectory in the launch angle, a lot of hard hits, moderate exit velo at 88.6 miles an hour. We got to monitor that for sure in the ongoing sense. Not impossible to homer against, but he's got everybody in the lineup only about halfway to the magic number. But that said, basically everybody in the Red Sox lineup is halfway to the magic number. So it's not a dead spot for the Sox. I just like Birdsong at 8,000. 83 on FanDuel works really well on this price board. Pitchers in that, as I said at the beginning of the show, like 83, or it was like, I think 81 to like 86 range. I forget who it is at that price, might have been 87. But there's a handful of pitchers in that range. And those guys are kind of the key to unlocking good stack combination. That's at least what I found when I was clicking stuff together with my placeholder, which, as I've said a bunch of times, there's value in just sitting there and putting stuff together with your hands a little bit, just seeing how things fit so that you know when you get results, what are you looking at? A lot of people, you can get results, obviously, just taking the blanket just right off the top of what the sims, the optimizers give you. But if you actually know what you're looking at when you get there, it does help. Hunter Dobbins at 69.73, just an 18.4% strikeout rate. Where it gets interesting is the low walk rate next to that. That's not a bad ratio. It's not a high strikeout rate by any means, but it comes with a 10.1% swinging against the Giants lineup that has a 23.4% strikeout rate overall this season. They're gettable enough for Ks. There is quality in that lineup, and there's a guy named Rafi Devers who's going to be looking to tear the heart out of this Red Sox team tonight. Not that that actually translates for baseball. There is no such thing as a hitter revenge in baseball. Rafi Devers might go out and hit 2 home runs today. It's got nothing to do with the fact that he wanted it more today than any other day. That just is not possible in the game of baseball, just given the dynamics of the way the sport works. If Devers was a point guard and this was the NBA and he had the ball in his hands 40 different times throughout the night and could call his own plays and his own number, then sure, revenge exists. In this situation, Rafi's just going to want to perform well. We'll see whether he does. He's one of the very best 10 hitters in all of baseball anyway, so it won't be surprising if he does against Hunter Dobbins. 49.38. He's a little bit cheap on DK, fully priced on FanDuel. 15 homers, a 226 ISO, 147 WRC plus, and capable of mashing. Love Rafi Devers, and I have no issues with going to Yaz. Willy Adames, despite the underperformance this year, belongs in Giants lineups at 4,200. Elio Ramos is tremendous. 4,300, 3,200, 12 home runs, a very solid slash line, creating runs 33% better than average. A little bit of relief in this lineup with Devers there now. Can just kind of sit back and see some good pitches. Should surge a little bit given his quality. Like Elliot Ramos quite a bit. Dom Smith, mix and match quality at the absolute best if he's in the lineup. He is a mediocre quad A type of a hitter. Has clung to major league jobs here and there, but has rarely excelled for anything more than a short stint. He's been okay over 52. I would expect it comes down 285. X-Woba backs that up. Young-Hoo Lee, 45.29. Not an ideal spot in the lineup, dropping down to the 7 spot, but very playable from down there. 110 WRC plus still, but a little bit of a dip from where he started this season, certainly. Tyler Fitz at 3,026, not giving us the year he did last year, but there is quality in that player. That said, it's become a little challenging. He's just a cheap spot filler at 3,000 at second base this year, 26 on FanDuel. Patty Bailey, cheap price at catcher, has not given us much this year. Last year, he did hit 8 home runs in 448 chances. I thought that was a higher total when I started speaking. 7 the year before. Really hasn't been all that good over those 2 seasons. Mix and match at best, Patty Bailey. And then going up against Birdsong, I briefly talked about these Red Sox, but 45-33 for Jarren Duran, 5 homers, 14 steals, just a 97 WRC plus, lacking the extra base hits that we saw all throughout last year, but not because he's not making good contact. The premium contact is up in hard hits by several points and up by 0.2 so far in barrels. So he's not dissimilar in those regards. He's walking a little bit less, striking out a little bit more, and just a little bit of misfortune in where the ball's fallen for him this year. More than capable of having a monster second half for this team, and they need him to. Carlos Narvaez up to the 2 spot, which is a little bit weird if you remember who Carlos Narvaez was. 6 home runs in 217 plate appearances is also kind of oddball output, 12.2% barrels, 45% hard hits. He can be in some Red Sox lineups if you're looking to stack in a pitcher-friendly ballpark with a 3.62 implied total. Narvaez for 36, definitely stackable, more so on DK where you need catchers. But with Abraham Toro being their only first baseman on this team, you can easily use Carlos Narvaez at first base on FanDuel. Roman Anthony, their star now, ostensibly. 1 home run, but a 0.074, 194, 222 slash line. And he's their star. Kid's supposed to be really, really good. Home runs, speed, everything you could possibly want in a DFS option. 6.02 is second on the team to Ceddanne Rafaela, who's at 6.40 in the home run model. Anthony's very cheap for what the talent very much is, especially at 25 on FanDuel. Definitely a high priority bat if you're going Red Sox. Christian Campbell got sent down, by the way. Abraham Toro, still the best 118 plate appearances of his life. Decent on-base skills. 207 ISO so far this year, creating runs. I just don't want to necessarily roster him for things that he's already done, but he's been an interesting fantasy player in spots over time, over the last few seasons. I just don't love the first and third of it, I think. Second base on FanDuel is where I want him, or if I could stick him in the outfield still, I would. Willier's a priority in this lineup. Monster barrels, monster hard hits. I went through him before. Trevor Story, still making very good contact. 10.5% barrels, 47.4% hard hits over nearly 300 plate appearances. It's resulted in 10 homers and 11 steals. The on-base sucks. It's hurting his WRC+. It's hurting everything. 133 ISO doesn't necessarily reflect that quality of contact. If I had to bet, I would bet on Trevor Story climbing the board in his slash, in his WRC+, in his ISO as the next half of the season unfolds. Marcelo Mayer's made very good contact in his first 65 plate appearances. Another very high pedigree kid as a top prospect that's gotten the call for this team and is now just one of their nominal stars. Very playable at those prices at second base. Shortstop third is less than ideal on FanDuel. Probably prefer him at short over third. Rafaela, again, decent home run option. 6 home runs on the season, 10 stolen bases, hitting the ball very hard, 11.7% barrels and 44.7% hard hits. Is growth from that hitter who last year was just some counting stats, but he's still at just an 85 WRC+. He sees no gains in reliability or just ongoing run creation. So we're looking at him for some DFS stats, but fortunately, we're here playing DFS. David Hamilton, mix and match quality infielder at the very end of the show. Sean, yeah, Larry C calls it out. The Sean V revenge factor of the day. If you're to pour one out for our guy Sean V, who's no longer with us, Raffy Devers can be your revenge spot of the day. Even though it doesn't exist in baseball, even though Sean would be here saying that if he was still with us, he'd be wrong, but we'll call it out for him. Male Nurse is asking Torkelson or Chisholm need one. Yeah, I would go Torque. You're getting lower ownership on Torque as well. And again, my home run pick of the day, number 3 overall in the model today. There is nothing wrong in the world with going to Jazz Chisholm in that spot, though. You're just probably going to get a more popular Jazz. Doug Gilney going with the Jansen Junk Hunter Brown combo. No, you're not crazy, Doug. And the model is leaning against that possibility. But he's not been awful. In his bulk relief appearances, he's been demonstrably good. It's just my concerns lie mostly here with all of that power showing and just all the Braves' ongoing quality. The fact that there's a guy named Ronnie Acuna in that lineup and an Austin Riley, a Matt Olson, and a Marcelo Zuna, and Sean Murphy. That challenges my belief in this pitcher, given his 9% barrel, 55.2% hard hit, 93.1 mile an hour, and the fact that he's yet to allow a home run on that kind of contact. I feel like the Braves changed that a little bit tonight. So I lean against, but given how cheap he is and how much he's shown some upside, it wouldn't stun me against the Braves lineup that has some strikeout. So I don't think you're nuts, but I would maybe look to, can you draw those shares down somewhat while still having that position? But like maybe a few lineups around the edges, we can get up to, I don't know. No. That's the thing. There's really not that many other good options in that tier. Maybe $6,900 Dobbins if you can reach it. Maybe 66 for Andre Palante, but he's not really a DFS upside guy. Maybe 7 if you could get there for a couple Bybee shares, and you chase the old version of Bybee against the high strikeout Athletics team that has way too much power and will probably crush him today. So yeah, given the nature of that part of the board, I don't think you're at all crazy for grabbing some Jansen Junk. He is the guy that unlocks a lot of combinations. You're probably not getting enough innings out of Turnbull, even though he projects a little bit higher. I'm going to pull that down by an inning, I think, which I got to get out of here so I can do. Yeah, I'm with you, Doug. Doug's way over the field on Cincy and doesn't do Palante, and that's perfectly fair. As I said several times, Palante's attributes are that he keeps the ball down, and that's about it. He allows plenty of contact, keeps the ball down, and throws innings. That's it. He's just cheap on that board, so that's why he's in that conversation. But yeah, there's no strikeout upside. There's more strikeout upside for Jansen Junk. Guys, with that in mind, I'm going to forgo the pitching breakdown. I've done it like 3 times throughout the show, so rewind if you need it. Let me get out of here so I can actually get these projections updated in the next 5 minutes. Good luck out there tonight. Somebody go win something. Share the results when you do. At rotoscouts on Twitter or in Discord, which is linked below. Rotoscouts.com for all your projection needs under $1 a day, weekly, monthly, quarterly. Like our pals, subscribe to the YouTube channel, etc., etc. Have great weekends, gang. And we'll be back on Monday for more. See you.